And at one point, the standing ovation was 5 minutes long. How amazing is that?
Well, look,
so it's magic. Thanks for covering me. You're the best. Thank you.
But it's just like if that makes you feel good, and if it makes the world feel like a better place,
absolutely,
then you've got to just embrace that.
Yeah, it's very wholesome. Yeah.
So you may have to cover for me and Steve when Barry Manilow comes back to town.
Here we go.
I bet that's a good...
I do owe you one.
I bet that's a good show, Barry.
You know what? It is a good show. I've seen it. It is a good show, yeah.
Oh, no, it's amazing. And that's the end of her European tour. That's it.
There you go. So no more. Oh. Right. Well, now that we're in a happy place, we better concentrate on the news because it's, as always, a little bit grim. We'll start off with the 5 bodies that have been found by divers searching the wreck of the luxury super yacht that sank off the coast of Italy this week. Well, families are on tenterhooks as the identities of the bodies recovered are yet to be confirmed. But tragedy continues as reports emerge that it could be the billionaire tech tycoon Mike Lynch and his daughter. Well, investigations into the exact circumstances of the disaster remain ongoing. Our reporter Adam Cherry is in Sicily for us this morning. Bring us up to date, Adam.
Good morning, guys. So I'm on the port now, and the search and rescue team haven't boarded the waters just yet. They're making preparations as I speak behind me to find that last missing person unaccounted for. As you say, 5 bodies discovered yesterday, 4 in quick succession in the early afternoon and 1 later in the evening. They won't officially identify those found for a little while yet because, as you say, they need to speak to families. We do have reports from the Telegraph that 2 of those found were of Mike Lynch and his 18-year-old daughter, Anna. And as I say, emergency crews now just beginning their preparations to re-enter the waters for the last time later this morning.
Questions, aren't there, Adam? I mean, as you say, the investigation is ongoing. It's quite a complicated operation, isn't it? But there are going to be questions about it. It looks as though all of the crew minus 1 managed to be rescued, managed to get to safety, whereas it looks as though it's the passengers who have died in this wreck.
Yeah, British investigators are here on the island as well, and they will be investigating that thoroughly. It has been described as a black swan event and actually just a series of misfortunate events that led to this moment. But we'll find out in the full course of time what really happened here. As you say, why the crew were able to escape and only passengers remained on board. You know, there were 15 who managed to escape, fortunately. But yeah, as I say, that will just take time. At the moment, the priority is finding or recovering that last person. There is speculation that the opening of hatches and windows overnight during that storm is what allowed water to rush in and sink the vessel very quickly. But we just don't know the specifics yet.
For now, thanks very much indeed. Right, it's day 3 of the Democratic National Convention. That's happened overnight, back on us, with the theme being Fight for Freedoms. Well, former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, took to the stage. She thanked President Biden and praised Vice President Kamala Harris.
And I know that Vice President Harris is ready to take us to new heights.
Well, the event continued its star-studded glamour after that, with former President Bill Clinton urging people to vote for a president of joy. And then there was a surprise guest, Oprah Winfrey, who stressed that whilst freedom isn't free.
And more than anything, you know this is true, that decency and respect are on the ballot in 2024. Common sense tells you that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz can give us decency and respect. They're the ones that give it to us.
Well, said Tim Walz moments ago, took to the stage, thanking Kamala Harris for inviting him to be part of an incredible campaign. Well, we're joined now by commentator Scotty Nell Hughes. Good to see you this morning, Scotty. And what's your take of how the Democratic National Convention has gone so far and the star-studded glamour of Oprah Winfrey last night endorsing Kamala Harris?
Well, it's day 3 of the embellishment and fantasy land for the Democrats, which a lot of people would say was just a reflection of what the Republicans had 2 weeks ago. But once again, this convention another night has revealed just how polarized our political parties right now. And you have to wonder, how different would this convention be if we would just 2 weeks ago have stuck with Joe Biden at the top of the ticket? I mean, that would be an incredible question to ask right now. Would all of these delegates, would we have the excitement? Would we have the star-studded DJs doing the roll calls? And would we have even Oprah Winfrey taking the risk and going out on stage like she did tonight and endorsing Kamala Harris, even though just a few years ago, she wrote a note to Donald Trump, which during Oprah's speech, the Trump campaign actually released. In that note, she quotes and says, too bad we're not running for office. We would have made a great team. In fact, Donald Trump attributes one of the reasons why he ran for office, one of the first people who pushed him to run for office, was Oprah Winfrey on her show, and helped enter in that idea of actually getting into politics back in 1988. And she talked to him multiple times since then about it. So it's a little ironic, like everything else has been while we've been watching the DNC the last 3 days. It's just been, from a Republican standpoint, just more embellishments. You look at Tim Walz even being introduced in his video incorrectly once again, calling him a command sergeant major, which he actually was a master sergeant. In the American Army, in the reserve terms, there's a huge difference between the two. And that's why you had 50 military officials today come out and say that, and condemn Walz, saying that he is once again promoting stolen valor, something that wrecked John Kerry's race just back over in 2012 or 2008. So little things like this, I think, are going to continue to make Republicans, give them a lot of ammunition, and they have to wonder how many lies and embellishments are too much before Democrats actually are held accountable for what is being said on their main stage in prime time for the country and the world to hear.
I mean, this is where it sort of descends into farce, Scotty, because if you're going to start sort of nitpicking at things like that, then you have to start nitpicking at Donald Trump saying, you know, his big line the other week was Kamala Harris is stupid. I mean, come on, the game needs to be raised, doesn't it, on both sides?
Well, absolutely. But that's what you're getting from these pep rallies that are there to motivate their base, get the people, the workers that are expected to leave here and get excited and go out into the grassroots and get the folks out to the polls. But let's just be realistic. You're not going to hear much policy coming from the Democrats this week. I mean, let's think about it. Even today, it was not even addressed that there was a downward revision of 818,000 jobs that do not exist in America, that the Biden-Harris administration has been touting for the past few months. I mean, the Democrats are going to have to sell themselves that Kamala Harris has this great projected to fix all these problems that she's been in charge of making for the last 4 years. So we can, like I said, we can take away some of the small little bites back and forth at each other, but you're not getting much policy out of either one of these conventions. That's not what they're here for. But the fact that the Democrats are ignoring the problems they helped to correct, I think that's what's going to make the short-term victories that come out of the DNC be even shorter than expected.
Thank you. Let's talk to the chair of Republicans Overseas UK, Greg Swenson, who's here in the studio. Always good to see you, Greg.
Hi, Greg.
What's your take from all of this? And look, I get what Scott is saying,
sure,
and trying to pull the Republican line a little bit, which I know you will do as well. Right. But what is interesting in this is the fact that the big message is hope. Now, that's not a policy,
right,
but it's a very interesting strategy.
Yeah, I think it works with the younger candidate. I mean, I never thought I'd say that someone my age is younger, but compared to Trump and Biden, obviously Kamala Harris has that appeal. Tim Walz doesn't look young, but he is relatively young, again, compared to the other candidates that I mentioned. So, you know, I think that's something that works for them. You know, the Democrats have always gone with this hope word. They used it, hope and change, with Barack in 2008. You know, even Jesse Jackson back in the 80s, keep hope alive. So, you know, they stick with these themes. It sounds optimistic, and perhaps it is. But Scotty's right. They're avoiding any reference to the issues. The other night...
So's Trump.
Well, he shouldn't, because he actually wins on the issues. So I wish President Trump would focus on the issues, keep reminding people, inflation, the economy, the open border crisis. Those are issues where he pulls up 10 to 14 points over Kamala versus Biden. He was pulling up 15 to 20 points. So it would benefit him to focus on that more. Not a word from the Democrats. They mentioned Trump 2 nights ago 127 times in the speeches. They mentioned the economy 27 times. And every other issue they mentioned even less than that. So it's obvious they're running, on one hand, they're running on hope. On the other hand, they're running against Orange Man Bad. Trump derangement syndrome is alive and well in the Democratic Party.
You can't deny the momentum behind the Democrats
no doubt.
right now. I mean, just in a matter of short weeks, like Scotty was saying, this would be such a different convention if it was Joe Biden at the forefront. But now we've got Kamala Harris. We are seeing this massive momentum. It must be making the Republicans very nervous.
Oh, definitely. I mean, right out of the gates. I mean, it happened so quickly. The Republican convention ended on Friday, and then Sunday is when they pulled Biden and ditched him on the side of the road. So they've done a really good job with that. You saw that Monday night. They had Biden speak on Monday, which is kind of an insult. It's amateur hour Monday night. That's not a good slot. Usually a former president, and he's the current president, would be speaking on Wednesday or Thursday. He spoke Monday night after prime time. People were sound asleep when Biden spoke. So, and Tim Walz last night, very dishonest in his speech. So, they're preaching hope, but he's...
What do you mean dishonest?
Well, he was very misleading. He talked about the Republicans, said things that just weren't true. Banning abortion, not true. Banning IVF, not true. So he basically said some things that were clearly stated in the Republican.
The problem is, but this is right, and I'm not defending that because you shouldn't be saying things that aren't true. I mean, British politics, you'd get really hauled over the coals for it. The problem is that agenda has been set by Trump, hasn't it? By saying things that aren't necessarily true, and we know his relationship with the truth is a bit slim.
He likes to embrace hyperbole.
Right. But he's set that agenda.
But it's look, I think.
So you can't have a go at anybody else for doing it.
He has a tendency to exaggerate. There's no doubt, and he also talks about things that did he exaggerate about the size of a crowd? It's a distraction. It's a waste of time, in my view. I wish he wouldn't do it because it just doesn't matter. But it's not something that's of great importance to anybody.
But this is the problem, isn't it? Which is what you were saying. As a political man, as you were saying earlier, if he sticks to the economy, he's onto a winner, really, isn't he? But he can't help himself. It's the showman personality that comes out. When he's talking about him being better looking than Kamala Harris.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, if he would stick to that, and I think he's getting advice, but he just can't help himself. I hope that changes because, again, when he focuses on the issues, and he did it a few nights ago in a speech, if he stays focused, if he stays on script, he'll win. Because he wins on the issues. And those issues, for example, the border, 87% of Americans think the border's a crisis. 71% think it's Kamala and Biden's fault. So, there's room for Trump to, if he focuses, he wins on the issues. Inflation, obviously.
But is it a little bit sort of live by the sword, die by the sword? He won on personality.
Yeah.
But he could also lose on personality this time, right?
Yeah, and again, in 2016, he was the change candidate. He was after 8 years of Biden, Obama, where the middle class suffered, the workers suffered, wages were lower. That worked for him back then. But I don't think that works now. I think he's got to go. He's got to make this a referendum on two administrations, which is, it's very rare that two. A sitting vice president and a former president, even whether it was Biden or Kamala, it doesn't really matter. Are you doing better than you were 4 years ago? The answer is absolutely not. It worked for Reagan in 1980. It worked for him again in 1984. So if he just stays focused and says, OK, how were you doing 4 years ago versus now, he wins.
Yeah, are you?
If he can.
Yeah, well, yeah. As someone who represents the party in this country, do you think that will happen? Or do you think he will stick to
It's a coin toss. It's a coin toss. I think, if he stays disciplined, yes, he will win. But that's a great question, and I don't know. But I do believe there's a good chance he can do it, but I can't put 100 to 1 on it.
We're expecting to hear from Kamala Harris tonight.
Yeah.
What do you expect to hear from her? Because she doesn't want to be continuity Biden, does she? She needs to put herself out there as Kamala Harris. But not many people actually know who she is, what she stands for. She's famous, but she's unknown.
Right, and I think she'll go for the joy argument and the hope argument. She surely won't talk about the issues that are important to Americans because, again, they lose on those issues. And she's responsible for them, too. She was the deciding vote on the two big spending bills that had no Republican support, 50-50 in the Senate. She was the deciding vote on both of those. That was $4 trillion in spending. That's what caused inflation. I think the voters are smart enough to understand that. So she surely won't talk about the issues that matter. When she does dip into that a bit. She did it last Friday with her economic plan. She even gets criticism from the activist media. I mean, the Washington Post, CNN, criticizing her economic plan as basically socialism.
But it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, she's also got the argument of saying that America, you know, has responded best after the COVID crisis and all the rest of it. You've had the strongest recovery globally, or certainly in the West. I mean, a lot stronger than we've had in the UK.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's difficult to take credit for that. I mean, she'll try, of course.
Of course she will, yeah.
But, you know, the U.S. economy in the third quarter of 2020 was up 34%. It was up 5% in the fourth quarter, 5% in the first quarter of 21. So the economy had recovered. And all of the GDP that was lost in the lockdown had been recovered by the time Biden took office. However, the spending that he put into place, in spite of the fact that the economy had recovered, that's what caused the inflation. I think if Trump and the Republicans focus on that, and then, of course, you know, the other headaches during COVID lockdowns, like letting Minneapolis burn to the ground, or much of Minneapolis burn, that should be on Tim Walz. Governor, at the time, Senator Harris, Kamala Harris, also was on the side of the criminals, not on the side of victims. So, and also they talk about freedom quite a bit. I noticed that in these, you know, freedom of what, right? Freedom of speech? No, that's not what they're about. Freedom to go to the school of your choice? No, not necessarily. So they talk about freedoms a lot, but not what the actual freedoms are. It's interesting.
See, this is why I like talking to you, Greg, because you don't actually just spin the line, the BS, if I can say that.
Oh.
But you actually give us a straight line on it all, which is what we like.
Thank you, Greg.
Happy to do it.
Thank you very much indeed.
Good to see you.
Now, Ukraine has attacked Moscow with at least 11 drones in what Russian officials called one of the biggest drone strikes on the capital since the war began in February 2022.
Well, Russia's defence ministry said its air defences destroyed 45 drones over Russian territory.
Well, the war escalated on the 6th of August when Ukraine sent thousands of soldiers into Russia's western Kursk region.
Well, let's talk to journalist Mirza Babu, live from Ukraine. Good morning to you. What can you tell us about what's happened?
Good morning. Indeed, is a very tense situation here in eastern Ukraine. And since the incursion began over the border in Russia, the Ukrainian troops have boosted morale. But at the same time, just further down, about an hour and a half drive from here in Donbas, the Russian troops are making advance movements into cities and villages towards the western part. Just the other day, I was in Pokrovsk, which is a town of about 70,000 people, and the Ukrainian army ordered a mandatory evacuation for all civilians, clearly in preparation of withdrawing from that area. And just to mention, this little town called Pokrovsk is a key town. It's a strategic place for both the Ukrainian and the Russian army. So at the moment, the front line is quite fluid. What we have in the northern part of Ukraine is this sort of advancement, this morale boost that is giving Ukraine the edge, while in the eastern part in Donbas, what we have is more of a Russian advancement, more Russian progress on the front line at the moment.
I think the tide is turning in this conflict. Ukraine does very much seem to be on the offense at the moment rather than the defense. Is it too optimistic to say that this might be the beginning of the end of this conflict?
Well, it's hard to speculate because we don't know the end goal of this incursion, whether this is going to give Ukraine the necessary advantage to win on all front lines. Just the other day, I was speaking with some of the commanders who are in the trenches, drone operators, commanders that operate the drone warfare, what clearly changed modern warfare across all front lines, but here in Ukraine especially. And they were saying at the moment, they don't think neither Ukraine or Russia has the ability, has the military capacity to win, to make big strategic wins. What we're seeing, this Ukrainian advantage, what we've been witnessing for the last 10 days or so, is more of a PR or more of a morale boost, like I mentioned before, rather than a strategic gain or the beginning of the end. We're still, according to soldiers, according to civilians that I've been speaking with, we're still quite far from peace negotiations, quite far from a clear victory on either sides. And what we're seeing with the drone attacks on Moscow clearly is not bringing peace or peace talks any closer to what we had 2-3 months ago.
Babu, good to see you. Thank you.
Now, 24 minutes past 6, let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
A drug found to slow down Alzheimer's has been given the green light for use in Britain. Experts say lecanemab, which is the first of its kind, has been shown to slow down the disease by almost 30%. The ruling means it can now be prescribed to private patients before a decision's made on whether to offer it on the NHS.
4 people who died in a house fire in Bradford included 3 children. They've been named by police. 29-year-old Bryony Gerwith died alongside 9-year-old Dennisty, 5-year-old Oscar and Aubrey Birtle, who was just 22 months old. A 39-year-old man has been arrested at the scene on suspicion of murder and taken to hospital, where he remains in a critical condition.
And pop sensation Taylor Swift has spoken out for the first time since the Vienna leg of her Eras tour was cancelled after that terror threat. She admitted she felt a new sense of fear and tremendous guilt after thousands of fans had already descended on Vienna. It comes as she finished the European leg of her tour on Tuesday night, breaking the record for the most Wembley performances ever in one tour.
I liked what she said about that, actually, looking at her Instagram now as we speak. She said, I was so grateful to the authorities in Vienna because thanks to them, we were grieving concerts and not lives.
Oh, that's very good.
Which I thought was a really good way of writing about this. And she also says that the press was talking about silence, that she was being silent about the Vienna attacks. She says actually showing restraint and waiting to express yourself by the time she knows that she finished the European tour safely. So she got through the tour, and thankfully,
have to say,
no incidents.
She sounds very sensible for a pop star.
She's very sensible for a pop star, I think. I think that's why a lot of people like her. She's very child-friendly.
Oh, well, good on her. Good on her. I mean, we are grieving concerts and not lives is a very good way of putting it.
Yeah.
There you go. Right. Oh, I'm losing my voice. Let's have a look at the weather for you with Annie.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A pretty unsettled start to the day today. There's some warnings in force through this morning. Rain will spread south and east through the rest of the day. And a further batch of rain is expected tonight. But once the rain does clear parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, it will be still quite windy through much of the day. But it's a generally improving picture across northwestern areas. Still a few showers to come, though. And the cloud and rain will spread into the south and east. But much of the heavier rain will have moved away. So in any sunshine, temperatures still pretty disappointing for the time of year, in the high teens for most areas. But in any sheltered sunshine, we could just about reach 21 or 22 degrees. So fairly fine end to the evening for parts of eastern Scotland, eastern parts of northern England as well. That's where we'll see the best of the sunshine this evening. Temperatures around 17 degrees to end the day. Across the west, though, still some showers moving in where we're exposed to the breeze, temperatures in the lower teens. Clouds already building across Northern Ireland and parts of Wales by the end of this evening ahead of the next weather front due overnight. But for many areas of England and Wales, it should be a dry and fine evening away from the far southeast. As I said, it's going to turn more unsettled overnight tonight. An area of low pressure will sweep across the country, bringing a spell of very heavy rain and also some quite strong winds, particularly through Friday morning across northwestern areas. Gales are quite likely. So with lots of cloud and rain around, it's fairly tropical air. Temperatures are going to be milder than average by tomorrow morning. But as I said, it's going to be a wet start to the day, potentially some localised flooding issues. But that rain will sweep away quite quickly through Friday morning. Once it does clear, it will bring there will be a much drier and finer picture for the rest of Friday. Still a few showers, particularly across north and eastern areas of Scotland, as well as parts of Northern Ireland. But in any sunshine, 22 or 23 degrees, but still quite breezy through the rest of Friday. Stay tuned and I'll see you later.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, how do you like the sound of £30,000 in tax-free cash? Sounds good, doesn't it? Well, that's what's on offer in the Great British Giveaway. It's actually the biggest prize that we've given away so far this year, and here's how you can make it yours.
Don't miss out on your chance to win a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. It's extra cash that could really make a difference to your coming year. You could find yourself on that holiday you've always wanted to take, buy that treat that always seemed out of reach, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could be yours, but time is ticking. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
she could have said Storm. You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
It went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, a new scheme has been launched. It's ambitious, but it's a blooming great idea. It aims to end all deaths and serious injuries on West Yorkshire roads by 2040.
Well, GB News Yorkshire and Humber reporter Anna Riley has this report.
0 deaths and serious injuries on West Yorkshire's roads by 2040. It's an ambitious strategy, but Alison Lowe, the region's Deputy Mayor for Policing and Crime, believes it's achievable.
One death is one death too many, and here in West Yorkshire we've seen an increasing number of people being seriously injured, 1,450 in 2023, or killed 50 in 2023, which is unacceptable. I have lived experience of having lost a family member when I was a child. My sister was killed on the roads aged 3, so I am personally passionate about this subject.
Improvements to roads, behaviours, speeds and vehicles, along with an effective post-collision response, are key to the plan.
We want safer roads, so the Mayor has invested £25 million for all our county to have better road infrastructure, safer cars, making sure that manufacturers are implementing all the best standard industry improvements. We want to have some behaviour change, so a whole range of education. We want the communities of West Yorkshire to hold each other to account for not drink driving, for not using a mobile phone, failing to wear a seatbelt, speeding, careless driving.
Bev and Steve Goff feel the pain of losing a loved one in a fatal road traffic collision. Their 19-year-old daughter Naomi tragically died in a crash in Halifax.
When your child dies, you die too. Your whole world is just turned inside out. Naomi had plans. She'd always wanted to get married and have children. She left footsteps in hearts that deep, no one else will replace them. She was just such a kind, beautiful, beautiful person.
The couple set up a road safety charity in Naomi's memory and also support the West Yorkshire Vision Zero strategy.
If we can remove the fatal 5, which is speeding, drink or drug driving, use of mobile phone, not wearing a seatbelt and careless driving, we'll save thousands of lives. And I know it's quite an ambition, massive target to reach 0 by 2040, but it's possible.
The message is to put safe driving at the forefront of every journey in order to save lives. Anna Riley, GB News.
Right, let's go through the sport. Paul Coit is here. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Morning.
And good morning to you.
Morning.
What's this merry-go-round of disrespect?
It's the disrespect on my daughter's wedding day. They come here and disrespect. This is Chelsea. I don't like the way Enzo Maresca is going about things and Chelsea Football Club at the moment.
Right.
When it comes to footballers, yes, they're on a fortune. People go, oh, they're in so much money and they do so little. But there is a point as a human being, surely, when you are being disrespected. And I feel that way about Raheem Sterling. I really do. Whether he merits being in the Chelsea first team, OK, that's up to the manager. But the way the club has run things, I just don't think it's very respectful. So he was moved away, if you remember, on Sunday. He was left out of the game that they played on Sunday against Manchester City. And then there were his people put out a message, and I was thinking, well, what is this about? You know, putting a press release out from his people, talking to Chelsea and saying, well, you know, we're disappointed. I'm thinking, well, what's that about? But then it moves on. His number 7, this is his shirt, has now been handed to Pedro Neto, who's coming from Wolves. So that's almost like your number has now been given to someone else. You don't have a number anymore. Same thing goes for Trevor Chalobah as well, who's had his number given to João Felix. And there's the amount of players there, and these are big-name players. They're not just being left out, but they're being exiled. It's like you train now with the under-21s. Conor Gallagher, who Chelsea through and through, he'd been there since he was a kid, and it was decided, OK, we don't want you anymore, you're not going to train with them, we want rid of you. It's like there are ways of doing things. And it doesn't matter how famous, how rich you are.
Great in the Euros.
Well, he was, and he played very well, and he's a good player. But it's like, well, your face doesn't fit, so we're not going to treat you the way we're going to treat the others. And I know they earn a lot of money. I know how big these names are, but there's just something about it that doesn't wash with me. Chelsea, then, I'm just looking at the names here. So these are the players that they've got banished, that are out now. We don't want to know you. We want you off the payroll. Romelu Lukaku cost £97 million in 2021. Out. Kepa Arrizabalaga, £71 million. Raheem Sterling, £47 million. Ben Chilwell, £45 million. It goes on. So they play Servette tonight, which is a qualifying round for the Europa Conference League, and you know who they're going to choose and how they're going to do, and it almost makes people that are not fans of Chelsea that think, well, you know what, I want you to get your just desserts from this because I just don't like the way things are being done. And I'm sure there are a lot of Chelsea fans that feel the same way as well.
Yeah.
You've got to still treat people with respect.
Yeah, you do.
I remember working at a radio station once, and I remember a guy saying to me, wow, my picture has been hung on the wall. I said, has it? I'd look. And, you know, it was mine that had been taken off at the same time. So they're always, I was like, oh, that's great for you.
Yeah. But stuff like that, I know, it's just rude.
That's showbiz. That's showbiz.
Should we talk about the tennis?
Oh,
yes.
no. Oh, well, I was just going to say...
Yeah.
Because... Oh, no, Is Yannick Sinner a tennis player?
Yes, he is.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's why I'm asking about the tennis. Is that all right with you?
He is. Yannick Sinner is a tennis player.
Oh, you're right. I do apologise.
What did you think it was?
I don't know. I'm going hypo. That's my excuse.
OK. So, Yannick Sinner, he was found positive.
Oh, yes.
A doping investigation. So, is he a saint or a sinner? This is the question.
Oh, very good.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
His coach has said
Well, his coach would say he's a saint.
Yes,
and he's
because
putting up with a lot.
Saying he was worn down
Yeah.
physically and mentally, so that's the reason he couldn't play in the Olympic Games, because it so affected him. A month out of action and clostebol, anabolic steroid. I've worked out. See, the thing is, I wasn't exactly too sure what I say the excuse, but the reason for him testing positive. So what
they only had 1 billionth of a gram.
That's right. But, you know, I didn't realise. I thought it was a cut on Yannick Sinner, but it wasn't. It was the physiotherapist. Apparently had a cut in his hand, put spray on his hand.
And then massage.
Then done a massage. And they say that the spray then got into Sinner, and then that, therefore, made him fail the drug.
You can't. No, that's ridiculous. You can't punish him if that's the case.
Well, if that's the case. But it's a bit of a bizarre way to get...
You never know.
You never know. No, no. What are you looking at my hands for? That's it.
I was just...
It was those massage hands, wasn't it? That was it. This contamination, I mean, I'll go through in the next hour. I've got a list of very strange contaminations, which we can go through.
OK. Thank you very much.
Yes, I will.
Still to come, the Education Minister, Catherine McKinnell, is going to talk us through the GCSE results, which we're expecting at about 8 o'clock this morning. That's next.
The latest GB News travel.
Hello, good morning. I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK for a Thursday morning. In Kent, the coastbound M20, a speed restriction in place due to Operation Brockroll. Freight traffic has to go through the coned area that's crossing the channel. Junction 8 for the Leeds Castle and the Maidstone services to Junction 9 at Ashford. In Essex, the clockwise M25, 2 lanes are closed due to emergency repairs following a car fire from before. That's going to affect you just after Junction 27 for the M11. And in Cumbria, the northbound M6, 1 lane remains closed because of the ongoing emergency barrier repairs. That's at Junction 39 for Shap. In Staffordshire, the M6 South, all lanes are now open. The emergency resurfacing repairs are sorted at Junction 10A for the M54 this morning. And also too in Allenby in Cumbria, the B5300 now clear following flooding from earlier. That was affecting you from Allenby to Maryport.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
A new 9-storey high mural celebrating Jewish life in Britain's capital has been unveiled in Finchley Road. The mural's artist, Leon Fenster, joins me now. Leon, welcome to GB News. Congratulations on the work. Tell me a little bit about the concept and how you put it together.
Mm-hmm. Well, all of my artworks are it's kind of essentially storytelling. So trying to pull back the curtain on some specific world that I can reveal, whether that's the world of a particular family, of a community, of an organisation, of a city. And in this case, the challenge was how to depict in a single artwork the entire story of Jews in the city of London. I don't really plan too much. I start somewhere, one thing leads to the next, to the next, to the next, the way we remember the world in our dreams and our memories. And then after a few months, it was ready and we put it up onto the wall.
Give me an idea of the dimensions of this thing. We've talked about it being 7 stories high.
Right.
Also looks like it's pretty broad.
The wall is 14 metres wide and it's So the top of the artwork is 26 metres. So definitely my largest yet, I would say.
I didn't know Benjamin Disraeli had a bar mitzvah.
He did not. He made a point of not having one. These artworks, there's this kind of mischievous sense of humour.
Oh.
So actually, Benjamin Disraeli's father left Bevis Mark Synagogue after an argument and immediately had his children baptised.
Yes.
Just a couple of months before Benjamin Disraeli's bar mitzvah would have been. So I'm sort of slightly cheekily imagining him finally getting to have the bar mitzvah he never had. He might not be too happy about this, to be honest.
Because after all, Benjamin Disraeli would not have been Prime Minister in that era.
Quite.
Has he been willing to attest to the Church of England?
That's right, absolutely. So that's why there's something slightly cheeky about it. Exactly.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Let's have a quick scout through the front pages. The Times has the bodies of 5 of the missing 6 victims of the super yacht disaster being found.
The Daily Mail says hope is lost after reports that tycoon Mike Lynch and his 18-year-old daughter are among those discovered in that wreckage.
The Guardian has police threatening to extradite foreign cyber criminals.
The Daily Mirror leads with the tragic house fire in Bradford.
And the Telegraph celebrates the first drug found to slow down Alzheimer's.
Well, joining us now to go through what's making the news this morning is former advisor to Boris Johnson, Oscar Redrop, and former Liberal Democrats Minister Norman Baker. Very good morning to you both. And Oscar, let's start with this very sad story about the 5 bodies which have been found in the wreck of the super yacht.
Yeah, incredibly sad story. And there are slightly different reports in terms of confirmation of members and identifying members on board and others that haven't quite, other newspapers that haven't quite committed to that. So we'll, in terms of Mike himself, I think we'd probably kind of hold back on going for that. The really interesting bit of this story, though, I think is still yet to come, which is the investigations piece. And there are a number of different investigative teams, I believe, that are at different stages of those investigations. One's actually from Britain, from Southampton, that have gone over, and they're looking for all kinds of things. And just actually, the British team that have gone across are not looking to attribute blame or liability or anything. They just want to find out quite objectively what perhaps led to this. And there's really interesting stuff in terms of if the amount of people on board, in which case there are different safety obligations that need to be upheld. And another quite important point is the forecasting reports in terms of when they came in. I mean, the reporting at this stage says that there was no cause of concern in terms of weather. And witnesses seeing it go down within, I think the mast and the capsize took about a minute in total, which is kind of relatively unheard of, according to experts. And then the other thing, and that's always comes out of this stuff, is the human interest and, well, human sadness in this case, in terms of the chef on board. Him and his family had just renovated their home because he was preparing for retirement. So, you know, it's very distressing, very sad, and it will continue, and as it has done, to dominate the headlines until we find out what happened.
Norman, can we have a look at the Telegraph? A jobs tax looming, apparently. So it claims?
Yes, well, this is the suggestion that the situation that the government's inherited is worse than they thought. This is what the Chancellor says. I guess all Chancellors say that when they come to office. Right, yeah. But she says she's found this extra borrowing £5 billion more than was forecast in the first 4 months of the year. And as a consequence, they're going to have to raise some taxes. And there's stories being dripped into the papers as to what those tax rises might be. Obviously, they're going to keep, they say, to their pledges not to raise income tax, VAT and national insurance for our employees, but anything else appears to be fair game, whether it's inheritance tax or national insurance for businesses or capital gains tax, so anything else you'd like to think about. I have to say that the question for me is really that the government says that the only way they can get out of difficulty is to engender growth. That's what they say. And I don't understand quite how high taxes and cutting back on infrastructure spending is going to encourage growth.
What do you make of it, Oscar?
Completely agree on that. I mean, I think thus far, I mean, there isn't a real opposition at the moment, which is why the scrutiny of such plans isn't really there. But I really firmly believe that thus far, There'll be a lot of business people. There'll be lots of, you know, kind of like middle-income families who'll be coming back from their holidays, and they'll be wondering, like, just quite how left-wing this Labour government actually is in September, because I think it is a bit of a mess on that front. You know, public sector pay disputes. There's a story coming up in terms of 20-mile-per-hour traffic zones, and they're hinting that there'll be spending for that announced in the budget potentially. I mean, no one voted for that.
No. Look, on that note, sadly, we have to leave it, usually, only because we're taking a short break now, and we're hoping to talk to the Education Secretary, or one of the Education Ministers, at least, a little bit later on. So we're going to take a short break and then back with that ahead of the GCSE results in just a minute.
The latest GB News travel.
Hello, good morning. I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK for a Thursday morning. The coastbound M20 in Kent, we've got that speed restriction due to Operation Brock. Junction 8 for Leeds Castle and the Maidstone services to Junction 9 at Ashford. In Essex this morning, the clockwise M25, one lane is closed due to emergency repairs. It's following an earlier car fire just after Junction 27 for the M11. And in Cumbria, the northbound M6 at the minute, one lane is closed due to emergency repairs at Junction 39 for Shap. In the One Lip area of Leicestershire, the A46 North is closed due to overrunning roadworks from the Hobby Horse Island round to Park Hill Lane. And also too at the minute, of course, in the Daresbury area, expect some delays on the roads today and for the next few days, with creamfields taking place. That will affect you between Daresbury, Walton and Hatton, of course. Across the UK, you're up to date.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
We could be calling you with the news that you've won our latest Great British giveaway, an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash.
Hi, I'm John from sunny North Yorkshire, and I've just won £20,000 in the GB News Great British giveaway. It didn't cost much to enter, but of course if you're not in, you can't win. And here I am having won £20,000, and that's tax-free, so I'm rather pleased I did it.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Big day, of course, if you've done your GCSEs this year, or your sort of BTECs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, you can imagine they've had a very nervous sleep, all these teenagers awaiting their results.
I think it's really tough, actually. It's really tough because this is their first big thing, isn't it, that they're having to deal with. And it's a big test for a lot of them.
Yeah.
And does it determine their future? I don't know these days whether it does quite so much or whether there are plenty of other options out there. Have we got the Minister? No, not yet.
All right. Let's have a quick look at this story.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
we have got her. Right, there we go. Catherine McKinnell, who's Education Minister. Good to have you on the programme, Minister. Look, it's such an important day for these children who've worked hard. The disappointing thing seems to be that we are expecting results to be sort of back down to 2019 levels. Is that the case?
So we're expecting results this year to be in line with last year, and I think we do need to remember that this is a cohort of young people that have overcome incredible challenges in their time in secondary education. They were the generation of children that have gone through COVID, and they've experienced a huge amount, so they should be incredibly proud today of their achievements, and it is incredibly exciting. It's also incredibly nerve-wracking for these young people, so I know they're waiting for their results, and it's a very exciting day. I think it's a day of celebration of these young people and also of the teachers that have worked incredibly hard to get them to this point today.
What are you going to do to try and support teachers going forward? Because Bridget Phillipson has spoken a lot, hasn't she, about resetting the relationship with the sector. But you've got a big retention problem, haven't you, on your hands at the moment? 44,000 teachers left the sector last year. That's 1 in 10 of all qualified teachers. How are you going to support them moving forward and keep them in the sector?
So this is one of our biggest priorities, to really make sure that every child has the teachers they need in the subjects that they need as well, because that's one of the big challenges we've seen in particular subject areas, that there have been shortages, and I don't think any child should be taught by a teacher that isn't a specialist in what they are teaching. And so it's so important that we make sure we get teachers into schools, and we meet our pledge, which is 6,500 additional teachers in our system, to ensure that children have the teachers they need, and also our schools have that support and robustness to really give children the best chance in life. And we know that education is one of the biggest opportunities we have as a government to give every young person those chances in life and to break down those barriers to opportunity. And we know that many children will do very well in their results today, but we also know that there's a big gap still across the country. We've seen outcomes in regions like the North East, like mine, not as strong as in other areas of the country, and we really want to close that gap and give every child the opportunity to succeed.
Absolutely, and it's about setting them on the right course for life, isn't it? Which is why it's so important. I think we'd all agree on that. The problem is bringing on board more teachers is going to take a little bit of time. Also, you know, maybe retention is going to mean perhaps more pay, but all of this costs more money. And what we already know, and it's reported in the papers this morning, is that actually more money spent on public sector jobs has seen more borrowing, and that is going to lead to more tax rises because we've got to pay for it somehow. And this is where we're going to get a shock in the budget, isn't it?
So we know we have an incredibly challenging fiscal situation. We've inherited a horrendous black hole in our economy from the last government that were quite irresponsible about some of the choices and the approach that they were taking. And that's why we are taking a really grown-up approach to speaking with our public services that we know we all rely on and we need to see functioning and working. We know, for example, in education, this is our biggest chance to grow the opportunities of young people right across the country, and these are going to power our economy in the future. And so this is an investment that needs to be made. So yes, we need to make sure that teachers feel valued and are rewarded appropriately and that are attracted to being teachers. But we also know there are other things that we can do, and by taking a grown-up approach, by resetting that relationship, as you said and we have said many times, to just have that support for our public services that we know we all rely on, that they feel valued, and that they can drive our country forward in the way we need to, because we need to get Britain moving and building, and these young people are going to go on and do that for us after they get the results today.
I'll ask you briefly about VAT on private school fees planning to be implemented in January. There's a letter that's gone into the Treasury by 50 schools, including head teachers and chairs of governors, warning about a bow wave of private school pupils surging into the state sector in January, halfway through the academic year. What are Labour going to do about that?
So I think a lot of this is scaremongering, really, because we've been very clear for some time about our plans to make sure that we focus as much as possible on, as we've discussed, getting our teachers into our state schools and really fixing our state school system where 93% of our children are educated. And we've been very clear about how we're going to pay for that and the tax plans that we have to do that. So there's been fair warning of this, and I think that schools as well need to cut their cloth accordingly and make decisions about the offer that they give to parents. These are businesses at the end of the day, and these are choices that schools have to make. And so I think a lot of the scaremongering about movement of children, I think, has been overblown, and there are very clear reports that say that there won't be the impact that's being suggested. But more than anything else, we really just want to focus on our state schools to make sure they have the investment they need, and to really celebrate the success today that these young people are proving is the outcome of a good state education.
OK, Minister, really good to talk to you. Thank you.
Let's have a quick look at the weather.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update, brought to you from the Met Office. A pretty unsettled start to the day today. There's some warnings in force through this morning. Rain will spread south and east through the rest of the day, and a further batch of rain is expected tonight. But once the rain does clear parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, it will be still quite windy through much of the day, but it's a generally improving picture across northwestern areas. Still a few showers to come, though, and the cloud and rain will spread into the south and east, but much of the heavier rain will have moved away. So in any sunshine, temperatures still pretty disappointing for the time of year, in the high teens for most areas. Been any sheltered sunshine, we could just about reach 21 or 22 degrees. So fairly fine end to the evening for parts of eastern Scotland, eastern parts of northern England as well. That's where we'll see the best of the sunshine this evening. Temperatures around 17 degrees to end the day. Across the west, though, still some showers moving in, where we're exposed to the breeze, temperatures in the lower teens. Clouds already building across Northern Ireland and parts of Wales by the end of this evening, ahead of the next weather front due overnight. But for many areas of England and Wales, it should be a dry and fine evening away from the far southeast. As I said, it's going to turn more unsettled overnight tonight. An area of low pressure will sweep across the country, bringing a spell of very heavy rain and also some quite strong winds, particularly through Friday morning across northwestern areas. Gales are quite likely. So with lots of cloud and rain around, it's fairly tropical air. Temperatures are going to be milder than average by tomorrow morning. But as I said, it's going to be a wet start to the day, potentially some localised flooding issues. But that rain will sweep away quite quickly through Friday morning. Once it does clear, it will bring there will be a much drier and finer picture for the rest of Friday. Still a few showers, particularly across north and eastern areas of Scotland, as well as parts of Northern Ireland. But in any sunshine, 22 or 23 degrees, but still quite breezy through the rest of Friday. Stay tuned and I'll see you later.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Tragedy strikes as 5 bodies are located in the super yacht search.
Tech tycoon Mike Lynch and his 18-year-old daughter are reportedly among those brought to shore.
Well, as the yacht's captain is questioned by Italian authorities, the victims' families look to unravel the mystery.
Day 3 of the Democratic National Convention sees Oprah Winfrey dazzle delegates before Vice President hopeful Tim Walz warns Democrats are on the offence against former President Donald Trump.
Is the EU creeping back into Britain? Reports say the government wants to introduce freedom of movement for the under-30s.
GCSE and BTEC students eagerly await this morning's results, as grades are expected to drop to their lowest since 2019.
Ukraine carries out one of its biggest attacks on Moscow since the war began, as troops move further into the Kursk region.
And as more dads than ever make the decision to quit their jobs to raise children, we're asking whether it's time that we showed more appreciation for stay-at-home dads.
And as Britain faces a productivity crisis, we also ask whether we're a nation of secretly lazy workers. Paul Coyte.
And in the sport, what will become of Raheem Sterling? Does he look for a new club or stay at Chelsea, not playing on £300,000 a week?
Wow.
What would you do? England go into the second day of the first test with Sri Lanka after a very good day one. And what happens when a Peruvian footballer has a call of nature in the middle of a game?
Good morning. Things are looking much better into the bank holiday weekend, but a pretty disappointing couple of days to come. Find out all the details with me a little later on.
Just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Right, let's crack on, should we? Because we're running a little bit late because of the Minister a couple of moments ago. So 5 bodies have been found by divers searching the wreck of a luxury super yacht that sank off the coast of Italy this week.
Well, families are on tenterhooks says the identities of the bodies recovered are yet to be confirmed.
But reports have emerged it could be the yacht's owner, that's billionaire tech tycoon Mike Lynch, and his daughter.
Well, investigations into the exact circumstances of the disaster remain ongoing.
Adam Cherry is in Sicily for us. Bring us up to date, Adam.
Yeah, so in the last couple of minutes, search teams have now gone back onto the water. So you may have seen the tents, and in fact, it's just behind me. Lots of search crews here on the shore, and there are now at least 3 boats back out over the wreckage to begin their search for the 4th day, looking for that last missing person. As you said, 5 people discovered, 5 bodies discovered yesterday, 4 in the early afternoon and 1 later in the evening. 1 unaccounted for. Of course, now it appears more to be a recovery mission than a rescue mission. Families waiting nearby in a nearby hotel complex. And there are no confirmed names for these bodies. But there, as you say, there are reports that it was the body of Mike Lynch and his daughter Hannah who were discovered yesterday. It will take a little bit more time for that to be officially confirmed, but that is the latest report that we have.
Adam Cherry, thank you very much indeed.
Now it's day 3 of the Democratic National Convention. That happened overnight. The theme is a fight for freedoms.
Well, former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, took the stage. She thanked President Biden and praised Vice President Kamala Harris.
And I know that Vice President Harris is ready to take us to new heights.
Well, it's not really the most overwhelming speech from Nancy Pelosi, has to be said. The event has continued, though, with some star-studded glamour. Bill Clinton urging people to vote for a president of joy.
And Oprah Winfrey surprised the crowd. She told them that decency and respect are on the ballot.
And more than anything, you know this is true, that decency and respect are on the ballot in 2024. Common sense tells you that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz can give us decency and respect. They're the ones that give it to us.
Well, Tim Walz took to the stage overnight with a pep talk-style speech thanking Kamala Harris for giving him the chance to be part of this campaign.
Well, joining us now is Chair of Republicans Overseas, Greg Swenson. Good to see you this morning, Greg. And what's your assessment of how things have gone so far this week?
Well, I think they've gone as planned. You know, they wanted to make this convention about hope and joy and on all these subjective things, very light on policy. When they do refer to any policies, it's the typical sort of, you know, Bernie Sanders socialist handbook. We saw Bernie last night or Tuesday night talking about his playbook from 2020 when he ran for the nomination. And so I think you'll see more of that. And I think on one hand, Vice President Harris is trying to separate herself from her radical left campaign themes back in 2020 when she also ran for the nomination and almost make it a repeat of the Biden policies. But I don't know that that will work under scrutiny. It's working right now because it's a convention and it's basically an infomercial.
But how much scrutiny will there be? I mean, in essence, if you look at the 2 camps now, and this is where politics gets interesting, is you've got the Democrats running on a ticket of hope, and you've got Republicans running on a negative ticket of it's all terrible, terrible, and everyone in the Democratic Party is stupid.
Yeah.
That's what the voters have got ahead of them at the minute.
Yeah, I think, you know, because President Trump and the campaign, you know, were running for quite some time against Biden, so they were making it a referendum on the 2 administrations. And on that metric, the Republicans would win, and they were clearly winning with that argument. But I think that they have to tie Vice President Harris, Kamala, to those policies. You know, again, she was the deciding vote on the two big spending packages that had no Republican support and caused the inflation, and also the hostility to the energy sector. You're not going to hear much about that. They've made a few references at the convention to climate and net zero, but that's really one of the big causes of, or the biggest cause of inflation. It wasn't just the spending, it was the hostility to the energy sector, and that will continue under Vice President Harris. I think the campaign has to point that out.
Forgive me, but how much? I mean, this is me trying to understand how American politics works compared to ours. But how much has Kamala Harris been little more than a cheerleader for Joe Biden over the last 4 years because she had to be? And how much can she now be her own person in this position?
That's the goal, and that's what they're trying, and I think so far so good. They've done that because she hasn't done any press conferences. She hasn't taken questions from the press. I think that will change back to the scrutiny conversation. You know, I don't know that she can continue all the way up to the election without talking about policy, without talking about the issues. And again, I think the Republicans have to tie her to the Biden administration. She was the border czar. She did, you know, again, pass the deciding vote on two reckless spending packages. So as long as the Republicans are disciplined, and especially President Trump, to tie her, basically define her like they've been defining Trump this week at the DNC.
Can I ask you about the Gaza issue? Because outside this convention centre, there's been 4 days now, hasn't there, of protests, hundreds of people.
Sure.
And in a way, that kind of plays into Kamala Harris's hands because she is accused by Republicans of being this radical lefty.
Right.
But actually, you've got crowds who are protesting her and her administration outside on the Gaza issue. But then, on the other hand, they're the very people that will probably be voting Democrat, right?
Yeah.
And you'd assume they're probably going to stay at home over the Gaza issue.
I think many people, and this goes to the great swing state of Michigan, you know, where there's a decent number of people, in Dearborn especially, that might not vote at all, or they might vote for Trump, even in spite of the fact that I think Trump would be more hostile to Gaza and to the Palestinians. So it's dividing. It is one divisive issue in the Democrat Party right now. 100,000 protesters in the streets of Chicago on Sunday, and you've seen the protests outside. The police have actually done a decent job in Chicago of maintaining order, and that's a pleasant surprise.
Trump's going to have to change his tune, isn't he? If he's going to secure a win, he's going to have to change his tactics.
Without a doubt, he has to stay on message. He has to talk about the issues that are important to Americans, which, you know, inflation, the economy, the open border crisis. Again, those are things that you can attach to Kamala Harris. So I think President Trump has to be more disciplined and focus on the issues. He wins on the issues. He's polling up 10 to 15 points higher than Kamala on those issues, on the two big ones, which are the open border and on inflation. So if he can do that, he can win. But if he stays, you know, with the personal attacks, and they're teasing him at the DNC, they're provoking him. They mentioned Trump in the speech on Monday night 147 times.
It's got to be said, Obama did a very good job on that. I mean, he was funny with it.
They went all out. Both Barack and Michelle went all out on Trump derangement syndrome, and right now it's working because it's the convention and that's the way it's designed. But I don't think they can just win on Trump is bad, orange man bad. I think they have to be smarter than that. And they're going to get questions from the press. When Kamala finally talked about a policy, there's been very little of that in the last month. She talked about her economic policies last Friday, and she was skewered not just by the right, but also by the progressive activist press in America, the Washington Post, CNN. Yeah. So if she starts talking about policy, she loses.
Very briefly, because I'm being yelled at. Mm-hmm. Waltz versus Vance. I mean, I don't know anything about Waltz, and I know very little about Vance, but he seems to be a bit of a chain around Trump's neck at the minute.
Well, I think J.D. Vance he's actually surprised me. He's been very articulate in arguing about the policies of the Republicans versus the Democrats. I think he'll do a great job. You know, Tim Waltz is basically Bernie Sanders or Jeremy Corbyn with a Fargo accent. So I don't think he'll do well against J.D. I look forward to that debate.
Okay. Lovely stuff.
Good to be here.
It's always great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Now, 12 minutes past 7, let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
A drug found to slow down Alzheimer's has been given the green light for use in Britain. Experts say lecanemab, which is the first of its kind, has been shown to slow the disease by about 30%. It can now be prescribed to private patients. A decision is yet to be made about what to do on the NHS.
4 people who died in a house fire in Bradford, including 3 children, have been named by police. 29-year-old Brian E. Goeth died alongside 9-year-old Dennisty, 5-year-old Oscar and Aubrey Birtle, who was just 22 months old. A 39-year-old man was arrested at the scene on suspicion of murder and taken to hospital, where he remains in a critical condition.
And pop sensation Taylor Swift has spoken about the Vienna leg of her Eras tour after it was cancelled, of course, because of those terror threats. She admitted she felt a new sense of fear and tremendous guilt after thousands of fans, of course, had already gone to Vienna for the concerts. Of course, it comes as Swift finished the European leg of her tour on Tuesday, breaking the record for the most Wembley performances ever in one tour.
Now, ministers are prepared to allow young Europeans to live and work in Britain as part of a wider reset of relations with Brussels after Brexit.
Well, this comes despite Labour repeatedly insisting it has no plans to agree a sort of youth mobility scheme.
But government sources have now told the Times newspaper that ministers privately recognise they would have to give ground to the issue to prevent Tory blocs.
Let's talk to political commentator Peter Spencer. Morning to you, Peter. What do you make of this? I mean, it's been rumbling around for a while. Free movement or not? I mean, it'd be quite difficult to implement, wouldn't it, as far as negotiating with the EU on this?
Everything negotiating with the EU is a bit on the tricky side. There are an awful lot of different actors in play here. And of course, this is a bit of a punt on the part of the Times rather than something which has been announced. But at the same time, I can see the logic to it because of the fact that the Labour Party, the new government, has probably woken up to the fact that actually there isn't going to be another election for 5 years, so they really don't need to be worrying too much about the red wall voters or indeed the hardline Brexiteers. I mean, opinion polls generally indicate a significant level of buyer's remorse about Brexit. And one of the things that has stuck in the craw of a whole generation of young people is the fact that their university plans are curtailed by Brexit because they won't be able to study overseas any more than overseas students would be able to study in this country. So I do see it as within the bounds of possibility that the government may be considering giving all this a go. And I come to Abe Lincoln's favourite line about how you can't please all the people all of the time. Well, I suspect on this one, they might be on the verge of giving it a bit of serious welly.
Peter, can I ask you, ahead of the illegal migration stats and the legal migration stats coming out at 9:30, what are we expecting to see? Because this could be a real headache for the Labour government now, couldn't it? And it feeds into the Tories' rhetoric that at least they had a plan, at least they had a deterrent, which Labour very quickly squashed.
Yes, they did. And it's worth remembering the announcements that we got yesterday, which I suspect were a bit of a preemptive strike, if you like, because they talked about reopening detention centres, rounding up illegal immigrants which have disappeared, who have disappeared into the black economy, and sending them off back whence they came. Also, they are making sounds about streamlining the asylum-seeking process so you don't get that situation of large numbers of people kicking their heels in hotels, costing a great deal of money and generally annoying taxpayers. I mean, on the face of it, there is a grotesque absurdity that you've got large numbers of people, as I say, at taxpayers' expense, kicking their heels. It's not surprising that a fair few of them have flitted off into the black economy because, apart from anything else, they must be bored out of their tiny skulls. So I come back to it. I suspect that the timing of yesterday's announcements are not unrelated to precisely what we're expecting in a couple of hours.
Indeed. Is going to be interesting to see. You would, though, expect that the net migration figures have dropped. Because that was sort of happening anyway as a result of what the Conservative government put in place. But they're still going to be high.
Yeah. The illegal migration stats will probably be quite high, but we'll see at 9:30. That will be on GB News a little bit later on.
Right, let's get the weather for you with Annie Shuttleworth.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A pretty unsettled start to the day today. There's some warnings in force through this morning. Rain will spread south and east through the rest of the day. And a further batch of rain is expected tonight. But once the rain does clear parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, it will be still quite windy through much of the day. But it's a generally improving picture across northwestern areas. Still a few showers to come, though. And the cloud and rain will spread into the south and east. But much of the heavier rain will have moved away. So in any sunshine, temperatures still pretty disappointing for the time of year, in the high teens for most areas. Been any sheltered sunshine, we could just about reach 21 or 22 degrees. So fairly fine end to the evening for parts of eastern Scotland, eastern parts of northern England as well. That's where we'll see the best of the sunshine this evening. Temperatures around 17 degrees to end the day. Across the west, though, still some showers moving in where we're exposed to the breeze, temperatures in the lower teens. Clouds already building across Northern Ireland and parts of Wales by the end of this evening, ahead of the next weather front due overnight. But for many areas of England and Wales, it should be a dry and fine evening away from the far southeast. As I said, it's going to turn more unsettled overnight tonight. An area of low pressure will sweep across the country, bringing a spell of very heavy rain and also some quite strong winds, particularly through Friday morning across northwestern areas. Gales are quite likely. So with lots of cloud and rain around, it's fairly tropical air. Temperatures are going to be milder than average by tomorrow morning. But as I said, it's going to be a wet start to the day, potentially some localised flooding issues. But that rain will sweep away quite quickly through Friday morning. Once it does clear, it will bring there will be a much drier and finer picture for the rest of Friday. Still a few showers, particularly across north and eastern areas of Scotland, as well as parts of Northern Ireland. But in any sunshine, 22 or 23 degrees, but still quite breezy through the rest of Friday. Stay tuned and I'll see you later.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, there's just just over a week to get your entry into the £30,000 Great British Giveaway, our biggest cash prize so far this year.
Well, thankfully, you can't enter. But you can, and here are all the details that you need.
We could be calling you with the news that you've won our latest Great British Giveaway, an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash.
Hi, I'm John from sunny North Yorkshire, and I've just won £20,000 in the GB News Great British Giveaway. It didn't cost much to enter, but of course, if you're not in, you can't win. And here I am, having won £20,000, and that's tax-free, so I'm rather pleased I did it.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have said stump.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Can I just throw a question out there?
Yes.
Because we've been going on about Banksy, haven't we? How marvellous Banksy is, and it's all
This is
wonderful.
what happened. I nipped the loo and you come up with these creative ideas, yes.
And yet I've just noticed, right, there's a story doing the rounds that 3 post boxes in Kent have been vandalised. Because one's been painted like a Cadbury's Whisper,
that's a good
one's
idea.
been painted like a Mars bar, and one's been painted like Mr. Blobby. Actually, very well.
They look very good, actually.
So...
Makes me hungry.
What I wonder is, why are they being now investigated by the police as vandalism when Banksy is all lauded and is it all marvellous?
Well, this is the question, isn't it? Where's the line? Where is it vandalism and where does it become art?
Cadbury's Whisper...
It's an art form. I would agree.
It's done very well. I quite like it. I know it's technically sort of...
I wouldn't want it in my neighbourhood, though, would
Wouldn't
you? No, I wouldn't want a big whisper bar.
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, because Banksy does sometimes just look like good graffiti.
Well, it is.
It is good
So I just wondered, why is one art form and one's vandalism? Just wondering. If you've got any ideas, let us know.
Maybe you only get away with it if you're Banksy.
Maybe.
Now, since the pandemic, the number of stay-at-home dads in the UK has risen by 1/3. But despite that, many fathers who give up their careers to raise children believe there is still a stigma around it.
So are they underappreciated? Do they have it hard? Let's ask a couple of guests. Author and broadcaster Nikki Hodgson and parenting expert Annette Callow. Good morning, Annette. Stay-at-home dads, good or bad?
Well, it depends how you look at it, I guess. I personally think when you just have a baby, your hormones are all over the place, you're breastfeeding, to go back to work, I feel personally it's a big old thing. And I don't think people talk about it enough. I think it's brushed under the carpet. And I think babies really need their mums. On the other side, if a stay-at-home dad was a stay-at-home dad for years, I would also say, well, come on now, the children are in school. What's the issue? Why can't you go back to work?
What do you make of it?
It's really interesting because my husband's been a stay-at-home dad for 6 months and is working part-time. We both work part-time now. And that was always the choice that we were going to make. I actually came back to work at 7 weeks, part-time, and I wasn't breastfeeding, so that actually wasn't an issue. Not everybody can or does breastfeed. And it's been the best thing ever for my family. My husband and my daughter have the most incredible bond. He's much more practical, playful, and a better problem solver than me. In many ways, he's a better parent. And I just can't imagine having it any other way.
I mean, the problem I see, Annette, with all of this is that you do get a lot of women who say, you know, we don't want the stereotype, we don't like the stereotypes. You know, women should be enjoying every freedom that men in society enjoy. And, you know, it's difficult to argue with that. But then when it works the other way round, there's a problem. And when men say, well, actually, I want to be the parent staying at home and looking after the child, it's frowned upon. So you can't have it both ways.
Well, yes, I do agree that it is frowned upon still. But I think the element we're talking about here particularly is he did it for 6 months. I wouldn't say that's a long-term stay-at-home dad. And also we're talking about actually dads should look after their children, and we shouldn't be praising them and say, oh, they're underappreciated for changing a nappy. That's their duty. And I think people think that that's, you know, okay with saying, oh, they're underappreciated. I don't think that's the case. But if it was a long-term stay-at-home dad, I personally would have a bit of an issue with that, because I think there's no reason for them not to go back to work when the children are at school.
OK, Nikki, how did your husband take to being a stay-at-home father? I mean, the stats would say that many fathers who do give up their careers face stigma around it. I'm just wondering if your husband felt like he experienced that as well.
I think he has to some extent. I think he's been surprised by the judgment from other people, his own slight loss of self. He's had to change his identity, how he thinks about himself. He's always worked extremely hard, always been seen as a provider by the family. And I think it takes real guts as a man to decide that you're going to give up those things that society deems so highly, even if it's for a short time. You know, I couldn't be more proud of him for facing that. I didn't want to have to incur the motherhood penalty. I was slap bang in a massive book project. I love my career. You know, if we were able financially for him to carry on not working, I would be more than happy to support him. Unfortunately, we're not. It doesn't work like that, because actually most men tend to earn more than women. It's the same in my house. But if he wanted to be a stay-at-home dad for the rest of, I'd be more than happy to support him.
Why is it then, Annette, that you say your dads should go back to work? Why should it be the base that, you know, men should be out there providing for the family financially rather than the mother in 2024?
Well, yes, I think we all want more money, don't we? So this is the thing, women are doing it all. And I think, depending on the nuances and the household layout, a lot of women are still doing a lot of the household duties and caring around the house and the childcare. And so I do think in an ideal world, both are working then and both are contributing. There's no excuse while the children are at school not to work if both are contributing to the household, you know, helping around the house. So for me, that would be an issue. Now, I know I read an article about a dad who was a stay-at-home dad for 15 years. And he said, oh, he was having a wonderful time pursuing his hobbies and fitness and all that. Now, I just don't think that's fair.
OK, we're out of time, I'm afraid, you two. Thank you very much for your thoughts, Nikki Hodgson and Annette Kello. Thank you very much.
That's the thing. I mean, I have no problems with being a housewife. I think it can be.
You'd be very good. You get through the laundry very quickly.
Thank you very much. But I think that's often very good for the children. I know times have changed and now you do need 2 incomes in a family. It's just the way things have gone in society. I think that's a bit of a shame. But if you've got
I think it's quite nice to have a parent at home.
I think it's quite nice to have a parent at home.
Yeah.
But if the mother decides she doesn't want to do that, she doesn't want to be a housewife, but the husband is quite happy to be a house husband, then I sort of think, why not? If that's what you're happy with, then if it works for you, why not?
Yeah. The thing is, it has turned into a bit of a luxury, hasn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
most
it is a
couples
luxury.
now, to have a mortgage, especially at the rates they're at now, and children, it's not an option. You
No.
need 2 people in full-time work. I wonder what that means for the children, though, not having parents around all the time.
Well, that's when they're sort of, yeah.
So changing world out there, isn't it?
Mm.
And it must be having an impact on
my
children.
mum didn't go back to work till we were about 8, something like that. Well, I was 8. Richard would be slightly older. So we had her at home for those years, and it was.
And you liked it?
I loved it.
Oh,
loved it.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say.
Right, still to come, we're going to talk GCSEs. Those results out in about half an hour. We'll bring the latest in a moment.
The latest GB News travel.
Hello, good morning. I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK for a Thursday morning. In Kent, the coastbound M20, that speed restriction in place due to Operation Brock. It's going to affect your Junction 8 for Leeds Castle and the Maidstone services to Junction 9 at Ashford. In Essex, the clockwise M25, one lane is closed due to emergency repairs following that earlier car fire just after Junction 27 for the M11. The London-bound M4 in Berkshire, one lane is closed due to a broken down car, Junction 5 at Langley to Junction 4B for the M25. And in Cumbria, the northbound M6, one lane is closed due to emergency barrier repairs at Junction 39 for Shap. In Leicestershire at Wanlip, the A46 North all now open following those overrunning and late finishing roadworks around the Hobby Horse Island at Wanlip, and also 2 at the moment in the Daresbury area in Cheshire. Expect some delays over the next few days with Creamfields Festival taking place, of course, so just be aware of that. Europe Today.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
I'm Arlene Foster on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have said stump. You made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's an exciting, perhaps nerve-wracking morning for families, as many teenagers are waking up across the country to their GCSE and BTEC results.
Yes, very shortly at least. This year, grades are expected to drop a little bit to pre-pandemic levels for the first time.
So could there be some disappointment in store for students today? Well, we're joined now by GB News East Midlands reporter Will Hollis. A very nervous wait for these teenagers. Well, they'll find out in about half an hour's time. But the principal of these schools and the teachers will be all too aware of what these results have in store for them.
Yes, it's a tense time for the students, but it's also a tense time for the teachers that have helped these students get to this position, not just for months, not just for weeks, but for years as they've grown to become young adults. This is GCSE results day, as in about half an hour's time. Here at Heenagate Spencer Academy, hundreds of students are going to be coming in, joining hundreds of thousands of students around England, Wales and Northern Ireland to find out what might happen to them next. And the person guiding them along that journey is Matt Jones, the principal here at Heenagate. What kind of a day is this? Is it a big day for these students?
It's an absolutely massive day for the students. Yeah, obviously this set of students in particular had a lot of their Key Stage 3 curriculum impacted by COVID, and they've worked incredibly hard over the last 3 years to make sure that they're in a great position today to open that envelope and hopefully receive the ticket to go on to whatever it is that they want to do next.
And what's that moment like as a head teacher, as a principal, watching them take what is probably one of the most tense moments in their life, opening that envelope?
Yeah, nerve-wracking. I lived the experience through them very vicariously. There'll be some students here that have done exceptionally well and jumping for joy, and there'll be some students that need our support. But however the students have done, you know, our school's a massive community, and we'll all live those memories together, and we'll help each other through the day.
This is students that are around the ages of 16, so they're year 11 students, and they'll be getting grades from 1 to 9, 9 being the equivalent of an A or an A star that we used to experience before they changed the grading system in 2017. What happens afterwards, depending on the grades that they get? What kind of places might these students be going on to next?
Obviously, we've got a thriving sixth form here at Heenagate, so probably around half of our students will stay with us, and we'll have got the entry criteria for that. We've got a vibrant labour market locally with the industrial estate. A lot of our students will, probably 20% will go on to apprenticeships, competitive apprenticeships in engineering and other fields. We've got a thriving beauty salon here where a number of our learners will stay. So there's many options for the students, regardless of how well they've done, and I look forward to seeing how each of them choose their future destinations.
These students are becoming young adults. When it was COVID, they were in year 7, so very, very small children, oversized blazers, oversized bags as well. What will the effect of that period have had on them, and are we expecting now to see those grades normalise to around those 2019 levels across the country as well as here at Heenagate?
Yeah, so typically we anticipate the results returning to something around pre-pandemic levels. Our students have worked incredibly hard since they came back from COVID. Obviously, they were the year group that sometimes missed out more than others, being sent home early and so forth. But, you know, the staff and students have worked collectively for the last 3 years to make sure that any of the shortfalls that may have been there from COVID aren't going to hinder them moving into today.
You described that some students will stay on for sixth form. You said that some students may not do as well as they did. How do you help those as well as they expected? How do you help those students that didn't do as well as they had hoped? Maybe there's a few lower grades on their envelope and their piece of paper. How do you manage those changes and where people go next?
Yeah, so all of my senior team and my careers provision will be here today to support the students, and we've already managed to highlight some of the students that potentially might need a little bit more support than others. We'll be here all day, and we'll make sure that we can support them in finding a pathway, whether that be a local college or, you know, an entry-level apprenticeship.
Matt Jones, the principal here at Heenagate Spencer Academy in the empty sixth form building. You can see that they've got some fantastic banners up for school leavers in 2024, and some of those students will be staying on to go to the sixth form, but it is quiet, it is empty, but in half an hour, many young people will be finding out what steps their future is about to take.
Thank you very much.
Right, time for the sport. Paul is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Quick word on Raheem Sterling.
Yeah, quick word on
because it's all
Yeah, let's do a quick word on Raheem. I mean, we've been talking about him for the last few days, and the way Enzo Maresca and Chelsea are treating him at the moment. I know he's rich, and I know he's well known, and they're spoilt footballers, but it just seems very bad. Number 7. Which he had at Chelsea, which has now been handed to Pedro Neto, who's come in. So not only has he had his number, there you go, that's your number, we're giving it to someone else now. You're not going to go and train with the under-21s. It's like, well, what exactly have I done wrong? And it's I don't know, it just seems a little disrespectful to me. There's a lot of Chelsea
the new boss
players.
Just doesn't like him, clearly.
It's obvious, yeah, it's obvious. But are there other ways of doing it? Maybe I'm being too soft about this situation, but I just think it's a little disrespectful, don't you?
Yeah, petty.
It is a little bit. So he's going to look for a new club.
Yeah.
He's got until next Friday because that's when the window closes. But the only other way is that he could just sit there and go, OK, I won't play. You keep paying me $325,000 a week.
I mean, it's not doing bad.
And
That's what I do.
Sit around, I know you would.
We're talking about lazy workers.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Me. 300 grand a week, bring it on.
I'd be quite happy. I'll train with the under-21s. I'll do what you want, but just keep
It
paying
can't
me
be good
that.
for up here, though.
No. And also, when you're a footballer, he doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia, which is always an option,
Yeah.
because he wants to continue playing in Europe and he wants to continue to have success.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see how that goes. It's a very strange one. Yannick.
Chelsea.
Oh, Chelsea. That is Chelsea.
Quick
Yeah,
round.
yeah. There's
That is
more.
Chelsea,
There's all the. Well, there's just more other. There's other players at Chelsea. Enough of him. Let's talk about Chelsea.
Yeah. Let's talk about Yannick Sinner.
Let's talk about Yannick Sinner. Yannick Sinner, who tested positive for a banned substance, which was down to the physiotherapist. The physiotherapist had cut his hand, gave Yannick a little rub there, and it came off of the hand, and then went.
Heck.
Anyway, that's.
Don't give anyone a massage if you've applied any germline.
Keep away from the cluster bowl.
Or hand sanitizer.
Keep away from the cluster bowl. It's contamination. This seems to be the word.
Excuse.
It is. It's a contamination excuse. Whether it's true or whether it's not, I've got a list of.
Not the best I've heard.
Some of the great contamination stories. Richard Gasquet, a tennis player, this was 15 years ago, tested positive for cocaine.
Oh.
He apparently kissed a woman in a nightclub who had taken it, so that's how he ended up testing positive.
Okay.
Tyson Fury, Nandrolone, ate the uncastrated wild boar, which was that one.
Right.
Conor Benn, too many eggs. We did that recently. How about this one? Callista Liu, American synchronized swimmer. Her father used contaminated eye drops, and apparently the fact that the pillow and the bedding was contaminated and it was in the house, that's how she tested positive because of her dad's eye drops.
My favourite one is the cheesecake one you were telling us about on the chopping board.
That was Camilla Valieva, wasn't it?
Yes.
Recently. Yeah, the ice skater whose grandfather had heart problems and was taking medication for that. And he was chopping up the tablets in the same room as he was chopping the strawberry cake that he gave to Camilla. And then, of course, she failed a drugs test. It's so unlucky, isn't it? So unfortunate.
We need to make a list of these.
Well, this is what I have right now.
That's
There's
literally what
lots
he's
and lots
reading
of them.
from.
There are lots of them. But
Number one is the strawberry cake for me.
Strawberry cake. But again, I'm not using any performance-enhancing supplements.
Sadly.
Whatsoever, as you well know.
Well, as
and
we
you
can
can
tell.
tell.
We've just got... we're out of time. Oh, we are out of time.
Not time for the Peruvian?
No, we haven't.
Next
But we'll do that
time.
next hour, because we'll have a call of nature by then, so
Absolutely.
I need every hint I can get. Look, we're going to go take you through the papers in a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday from 8 p.m.
The court on Wednesday ruled that a teenager was wrongly ignored before being forced into end-of-life care. Sudiksha Thirumalesh, who was 19, died last year after being prevented from travelling abroad for treatment after doctors said her condition was incurable. Doctors said Ms. Thirumalesh's objection to their decision was unreasonable and that she should have all life-sustaining treatment ended and be put on a palliative care pathway. Last August, a ruling said that the teenager lacked mental capacity to make her own decisions, but 3 judges in the Court of Appeal overturned that decision last week. Lawyers said the move reaffirms the right of patients to disagree with their doctors. The teenager remained fully conscious while being treated by the University Hospitals Birmingham NHS Foundation Trust. Well, to discuss this tragic case, Sudiksha's father, Thirumalesh, and brother Varshan join me now. Thank you so much for joining me in these desperately sad circumstances. This is very important for other people who may find themselves in a similar position, that they will be able to make decisions about their own care with the support of their families, rather than there's sometimes arrogance of the medical profession who think that they know best. So you must be, I hope, very reassured by this judgment that Sudiksha has achieved something for other people.
Yes, definitely, because this arrogance transformed into cruelty towards my sister's care and ill treatment of the whole family. They think they are on the top of the hierarchical spectrum, and they treated us like we were on the bottom of the lower end of the chains, or rather as low class, but we ensured that our class remained.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, let's talk to former advisors to Boris Johnson, Oscar Reddrop, and former Lib Dem Minister Norman Baker, who are taking us through the papers. Norman, in The Guardian, we're going to deal with sextortion criminals, apparently.
This is a horrible crime, sextortion being a relatively new word. This is about exploiting children, actually, who are 15, 16, to send nude photographs or other compromising photographs, and then to...
We've seen cases, actually, where these teenagers have then committed suicide.
They have committed suicide. It's horrible, and it can destroy someone's lives.
Yeah.
And what's now the story here is that they've tracked a lot of this down to West Africa and to Nigeria in particular, and the UK police are now going to follow the US, because the US have done this, and try to get these people out of Nigeria over to the UK through extradition to have them on trial here in this country. And the Nigerians are cooperating with this as well, which is good news. But I mean, the story here, I mean, it's awful that the Guardian has found that there are detailed guides to sextortion in written and video format available freely online, with criminals offering individual tuition for further payment. I mean, people have got no morality. I mean, how can you do that to children?
No, there's no morality in it. It's a disgrace.
Just anecdotally, this happened to one of my friends, and they are so sophisticated with the messages that they send. They say, we've hacked your phone, we've got these explicit photos, you need to pay X amount, otherwise we'll send it to these people. And the people that they say they're going to send it to are people on your Instagram or social media. So it's very, very believable. You can see why someone would get themselves...
And there's no guarantee, of course, even if you pay up.
No.
Probably just ask for more to not do it again.
Awful. Oscar, should we talk about your man, Boris? Robert Jenrick said he'd be delighted to have him in his shadow cabinet if he wins Tory leadership contest.
Yeah, a few things on this. So
Boris,
Norman's just chomping at the bit there. Well, no, I think Boris Johnson, and there might be people screaming at their television sets right now saying, well, I'm certainly not one of them, but Boris Johnson amongst the membership, generally speaking, by and large, is still immensely popular. And you have to remember that all these leadership candidates at the moment are really playing to that gallery. And so I think Jenrick's quite smart to kind of signal that he would want someone like Boris involved. I'm not sure in terms of the practicalities on how that would work, but just zooming out a little bit...
Boris wouldn't want to serve under anybody, would he?
No.
No, definitive. Well, no, I think in some ways it'd be quite tough. I think Boris would look at what's followed for the Conservative Party over the last couple of years, and there's probably, I mean, if generous spirit aside, he'd probably think, well, you know, things hardly got better when you removed me and you got rid of me. So I think that is a reality. I think for Rob, though, who is gaining a little bit of momentum at the moment when you look at the race, I mean, just zooming out again, like the general public couldn't give, you know, two hoots about the Conservative Party at the moment, and in some ways rightly so. But I think Boris ultimately... And there's a common misconception. He actually isn't all about the self whatsoever. He is a Conservative, and and he's no fan of Keir Starmer, and he will want the Conservative Party to be a proper opposition to this Labour government. He really, really will. I really genuinely believe that.
But he won't want to be part of that himself. I mean, I wouldn't blame him.
Well, no, I mean, look, he's done his bit, and for better or for worse, and we're not going to have a Conservative government for 5-10 years, probably, at least. And by that time, how old is Boris going to be? Look, this is Robert Jenrick signalling to the membership, vote for me, I like Boris. It's no more than that. Is that going to happen?
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair point. Can we talk about a way to avoid paying certain taxes?
I love this story.
This is in the mail. I
love
we
this
can
story.
all get ready, make notes if you're a business owner.
This was a bit of wonderful entrepreneurship of somebody in Liverpool who's developed a snail farm in the basement of their building. And why have you done that? Because you say it's now an agricultural holding and therefore exempt from business tax. But apparently there's only about 30 snails being kept in 15 crates in the ground floor of Imperial Buildings in Dale Street. And they don't really sell for very much either when they go to the supermarkets and to the restaurants. However, he's having a dispute with Liverpool City Councillors whether he pays business rates or not.
Yeah, but is it if it's legit? If it's to the letter of the law?
Indeed, that's the issue. But I suppose the issue for me, if I was in Liverpool, would be, is this the main purpose of this building, or is it just a minor ancillary thing in the basement?
Well, it's a loophole, isn't it?
I say good luck for trying.
And the business calls himself the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Oh, yeah.
You said about... Was that to a snail's cute?
Yeah.
Are they? That's an
quite
odd...
nice.
Snail. No.
They're also quite tasty as well, so I know vegetables.
Is that right?
They are really tasty.
Cute
with
and
lots
tasty.
of garlic. Cute and tasty, yes.
The cuter they are, the more she wants to eat.
Oscar, let's have a look. This is a nice story, isn't it? An Alzheimer's wonder drug. Because it's just the cruelest disease, isn't it? So this is it's a good sign.
Well, I think probably everyone around this table in this building watching at home probably knows someone affected very, very close to them by dementia and Alzheimer's. And so this will be hugely heartening news. This new drug has been labelled by experts as the beginning of the end of the disease. I think we sometimes see false flag stuff with new pills for really, really horrific illnesses, but this does slow the progression of the disease by around 27%.
Wow.
In particular sufferers, and it will be granted for approval to stay in the UK. I did a little bit of looking around this, and the only slight kind of dampener I'd put on it in America at the moment, it's around £20,000 a year if you want to take this medication. So in terms of when it enters the UK marketplace, in terms of costings and how we can get it to people as quickly as possible, I think probably the jury's still out on that.
Yeah, but the more people that are buying it privately, the rich types, it always starts to bring the price down. The NHS
very
and
good
then
point.
negotiate.
Yeah.
So let's hope that happens. Right, good to see you both. Thank you. We'll see you a little bit later on.
Let's have a look at the weather.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A pretty unsettled start to the day today. There's some warnings in force through this morning. Rain will spread south and east through the rest of the day. And a further batch of rain is expected tonight. But once the rain does clear parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, it will be still quite windy through much of the day, but it's a generally improving picture across northwestern areas. Still a few showers to come, though. And the cloud and rain will spread into the south and east, but much of the heavier rain will have moved away. So in any sunshine, temperatures still pretty disappointing for the time of year, in the high teens for most areas. Been any sheltered sunshine, we could just about reach 21 or 22 degrees. So fairly fine end to the evening for parts of eastern Scotland, eastern parts of northern England as well. That's where we'll see the best of the sunshine this evening. Temperatures around 17 degrees to end the day. Across the west, though, still some showers moving in where we're exposed to the breeze, temperatures in the lower teens. Clouds already building across Northern Ireland and parts of Wales by the end of this evening, ahead of the next weather front due overnight. But for many areas of England and Wales, it should be a dry and fine evening away from the far southeast. As I said, it's going to turn more unsettled overnight tonight. An area of low pressure will sweep across the country, bringing a spell of very heavy rain and also some quite strong winds, particularly through Friday morning across northwestern areas. Gales are quite likely. So with lots of cloud and rain around, it's fairly tropical air. Temperatures are going to be milder than average by tomorrow morning. But as I said, it's going to be a wet start to the day, potentially some localised flooding issues. But that rain will sweep away quite quickly through Friday morning. Once it does clear, it will bring there will be a much drier and finer picture for the rest of Friday. Still a few showers, particularly across north and eastern areas of Scotland, as well as parts of Northern Ireland. But in any sunshine, 22 or 23 degrees, but still quite breezy through the rest of Friday. Stay tuned and I'll see you later.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Don't miss out on your chance to win a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. It's extra cash that could really make a difference to your coming year. You could find yourself on that holiday you've always wanted to take, buy that treat that always seemed out of reach, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could be yours, but time is ticking. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK for a Thursday morning. In Kent, the coastbound M20, that speed restriction in place due to Operation Brock. That's going to affect you, of course, from Junction 8 for Leeds Castle and the Maidstone services to Junction 9 at Ashford. In Essex, the clockwise M25, a lane closed due to emergency repairs. This is due to this earlier car fire just after Junction 27 for the M11. And in Berkshire, the London-bound M4, that's moving a lot better now following the earlier broken down car, Junction 5 at Langley to Junction 4B for the M25. In Oxfordshire this morning, the southbound M40, there's a lane closed due to a broken down lorry, Junction 10 for Brackley and the Cherwell Valley services to Junction 9 at Bicester. And in Cumbria, the northbound M6, we've currently got one lane closed due to emergency barrier repairs. That's at Junction 39 up over the tops at Shap this morning, of course. You're up to date.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Breaking news this morning as 5 bodies have now been recovered in the super yacht search.
Well, the 5th body located by Italian search teams has been recovered from that sunken yacht and brought to shore. One person still missing. Tech tycoon Mike Lynch and his 18-year-old daughter reportedly amongst those bodies.
Well, the yacht's captain is questioned by Italian authorities and the victims' families desperately want to know exactly what happened.
In the United States, Oprah Winfrey dazzles delegates at the Democratic National Convention before Vice President hopeful Tim Walz wages war on Trump.
Is the EU creeping back into Britain? Reports say the government wants to introduce freedom of movement for the under-30s.
GCSE and BTEC students eagerly await this morning's results as grades are expected to drop to their lowest since 2019.
Ukraine carries out one of its biggest attacks on Moscow since the war began as troops continue to move further into the Kursk region.
And as Britain faces a productivity crisis, we ask whether we're a nation of secretly lazy workers.
And in the sport, the Chelsea disrespect merry-go-round continues to spin, with Raheem Sterling at the centre of it. England going to the second day of the first test with Sri Lanka after a very good first one, and Yannick Sinner's doping investigation left him worn down physically and mentally. There's medication for that, you know, but then again, that's probably not a good idea.
Good morning. Things are looking much better into the bank holiday weekend, but a pretty disappointing couple of days to come. Find out all the details with me a little later on.
Just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, there is breaking news this morning in that ongoing search of the yacht that went down with the loss of so many people on board. Adam Cherry's in Sicily with the latest developments. Adam?
We've seen a fifth body transported to shore. 3 or 4 lifeboat vessels were out not very long this morning, maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. They've now just gone back to the port and they're unloading what appears to be a body bag into an ambulance as we speak. You have emergency services crew lined up across the port here, ambulances arriving, and you can see those watching on television, the ambulance doors opening. It was a blue body bag taken from the vessel, from one of the lifeboat vessels, and unloaded onto shore within the last 2 or 3 minutes. So this would be the last body we understand to be on board that vessel.
What's the situation with, because there still is one person missing, isn't there, Adam? Do they have any indication where that body may be?
Well, this may be it. We need to find out the details and make sure this is all correct. As I said, this is unfolding as we speak. There was one person missing as of this morning when we reported an hour ago, and we have now seen this may be what we're seeing here unfold live is the end of that search.
It's been a really complicated search, hasn't it, Adam? We were hearing about obviously dealing with water pressure, trying to get to that vessel 50 metres under the water, and also hearing about the complication of furniture against doors, making it very difficult to get to these bodies.
Yeah, that's right. And authorities will be investigating this. British inspectors are on the island now. And they will be carrying out those investigations. As you say, difficulties with the depth of the depth of the seabed and the furniture blocking exits. Thick glass on the yacht make it difficult to break in. They were actually using natural pathways from the wreckage to enter the vessel rather than smashing through it themselves. And now it appears they have found that body they were looking for.
OK, Adam, thanks very much indeed. Adam will keep bringing us the latest as it goes on. But, I mean, it's some more answers, at least. And perhaps it helps those families who are, who were desperately wanting to know exactly what was going on. 6 people who they were trying to find. So now they've brought a 5th body on shore. There is still one person missing. But it starts to bring this to a close or the beginning of a close for the families. But now, of course, the question's underway into exactly what happened and why. Could more be done? The captain's being questioned. And, of course, all but one of the crew survived, we think, didn't we? So that raises some questions as well. So issues that do need to be dealt with there.
Yeah, many, many questions. But, of course, we'll bring any update that we have, any developments on GB News.
Now, ministers are reportedly drawing up plans to allow younger Europeans to live and work in Britain as part of a reset of relations with Brussels after Brexit.
Well, that's despite Labour repeatedly insisting it has no plans to agree a youth mobility scheme.
Well, our political correspondent, Olivia Utley, joins us now from Westminster. Morning, Olivia. What do we make of all of this, then?
Well, it's pretty complicated. It seems as though Labour has said repeatedly, Keir Starmer has said that he has no plans for a youth mobility scheme, that is to allow young EU nationals to come over to the UK to live and work here for up to 3 years. But privately, behind the scenes, according to a report in The Times, it sounds as though Labour ministers are saying that, yes, actually, the Labour government would be prepared to give ground on this. It wouldn't be a particularly radical move. The UK government already allows young people, that is people under 30 from Canada and Australia, to come to the UK for 3 years. But obviously there is a worry among Brexiteers, both in the Labour Party and of course on the Conservative benches and perhaps in the wider country too, that Keir Starmer is sort of opening the door to reversing on Brexit by degrees. So he's not going to say we're going to leave the single market or we're going to join the single market or rejoin the EU, But if you get sort of backdoor deals like this, like a deal on youth mobility, they're also talking about a veterinary agreement, so there would be fewer checks on animal products coming over the border. You could end up in a situation where Britain has left the EU in all but name. That said, there will be plenty of young people, maybe people receiving their GCSE results today, who rather like the sound of this idea, the idea of being able to move over to the EU, anywhere in the EU, for up to 3 years and have a reciprocal arrangement so that EU young citizens could come and live in the UK for 3 years. That might sound quite tempting to a few people.
OK, Olivia Utley there for us in Westminster. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd love to know what you think about that. It depends My big question is, how on earth do you police it? How do you police it if you've just got people coming and going under 30? I mean, that was the problem with free movement before, wasn't it? So...
Well, it will make people very, very nervous, won't it? Especially if it's, are we heading back to closer ties with the EU? But we do already have these sorts of deals with Australia and with Canada.
Right.
So is it that different to what we already have there?
Yeah, maybe not then. Maybe not. I don't know. It does. That we've not even properly sorted Brexit out yet. And we're rowing back on key issues of it. Of course, the other issue is in terms of smuggling gangs, immigration, and all the rest of it, they want an EU-wide agreement to police all of that. Well, the EU are only going to do that with some sort of caveat.
Taking our fair share, is what they'd say, yeah.
So they're always going to be... You've got to be a little bit flexible, I guess. We don't feel like being flexible at the moment. I don't blame you.
Well, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say.
It is 8 minutes past 8. These are the other stories heading into the newsroom this morning.
And a drug found to have slowed down Alzheimer's has been given the green light for use in Britain. Experts say the drug, lecanemab, which is the first of its kind, has been shown to slow down the disease by almost 30%. The ruling means it can now be prescribed to private patients before a decision is made to whether to offer it on the NHS.
4 people who died in a house fire in Bradford, including 3 children, have been named by police. 29-year-old Bryony Gerwith and her children, 9-year-old Dennisty, 5-year-old Oscar and 22-month-old Aubrey. A 39-year-old man has been arrested at the scene on suspicion of murder. He's being treated in hospital. He's in a critical condition.
And pop sensation Taylor Swift has spoken for the first time since the Vienna leg of her Eras tour was cancelled after a reported terror threat. The star admitted she felt a new sense of fear and tremendous guilt after thousands of fans had already descended on Vienna. It comes as Swift finished the European leg of her tour on Tuesday night, breaking the record for the most Wembley performances ever in one tour.
I'm very excited you were to be there to send her off.
Oh, it was amazing. Best I've ever seen her live.
Was there Stephanie Tetchy was there as well?
Yeah, she was.
It was like a GB News spectacular.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite.
It was amazing. Well, thanks for covering me so that I could go. I appreciate that. Now let's
Anything for you, doll?
Oh, thank you. I'll do the same for you. You know that as well. And I'm doing it for you on Sunday, actually. I'm covering you, aren't I? Sing.
Yes, but I've taken leave.
Yes, whereas I just sprung it upon you the night before. But thank you very much, all the same. Should we have a look at the weather now with Annie Shuttleworth?
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A pretty unsettled start to the day today. There's some warnings in force through this morning. Rain will spread south and east through the rest of the day. And a further batch of rain is expected tonight. But once the rain does clear parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, it will be still quite windy through much of the day, but it's a generally improving picture across northwestern areas. Still a few showers to come, though. And the cloud and rain will spread into the south and east, but much of the heavier rain will have moved away. So in any sunshine, temperatures still pretty disappointing for the time of year in the high teens for most areas. Been any sheltered sunshine, we could just about reach 21 or 22 degrees. So fairly fine end to the evening for parts of eastern Scotland, eastern parts of northern England as well. That's where we'll see the best of the sunshine this evening. Temperatures around 17 degrees to end the day. Across the west, though, still some showers moving in where we're exposed to the breeze, temperatures in the lower teens. Clouds already building across Northern Ireland and parts of Wales by the end of this evening ahead of the next weather front due overnight. But for many areas of England and Wales, it should be a dry and fine evening away from the far southeast. As I said, it's going to turn more unsettled overnight tonight. An area of low pressure will sweep across the country, bringing a spell of very heavy rain and also some quite strong winds, particularly through Friday morning across northwestern areas. Gales are quite likely. So with lots of cloud and rain around, it's fairly tropical air. Temperatures are going to be milder than average by tomorrow morning. But as I said, it's going to be a wet start to the day, potentially some localised flooding issues. But that rain will sweep away quite quickly through Friday morning. Once it does clear, it will bring there will be a much drier and finer picture for the rest of Friday. Still a few showers, particularly across north and eastern areas of Scotland, as well as parts of Northern Ireland. But in any sunshine, 22 or 23 degrees, but still quite breezy through the rest of Friday. Stay tuned and I'll see you later.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, there's actually not much over a week left to get your entry into our £30,000 Great British Giveaway. It's our biggest cash prize ever.
So have a think, what would you do with all of that extra cash? You just wrote your shopping list, didn't you? Stephen wants to go on a long-haul trip. He wants a new kitchen and a new lounge. But you can't enter.
No.
But you can, and here's how.
Don't miss out on your chance to win a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. It's extra cash that could really make a difference to your coming year. You could find yourself on that holiday you've always wanted to take, buy that treat that always seemed out of reach, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could be yours, but time is ticking. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed.
Now, still to come, we've got a bit of a productivity crisis, apparently. So we're asking, are Brits, that's you and me, a bit lazy in the workplace?
Not us.
No comment.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
One local cricket team was made up entirely of one family, the Jollens.
The Newmarket midweek seconds played Thurlow and Old Milgreenian seconds, captained by, here we go, James Jolland. He played alongside family members Henry, Freddie, George, Jack, Archie, Ryan, Brandon and Daniel. Even if slightly controversial, one of the umpires was a Jolland to Stephen the umpire.
Yes, well, the Jolland family mostly live in Wickenbrook in Suffolk and have played for 4 years for Dullingham Village team before it merged with Newmarket. So that's the entire backstory. We're delighted to be joined now by Captain James Jolland and teammate and brother Nick Jolland. Really good to see you both this morning. This is incredible. How did you get the entire family involved in cricket?
Well, we started the club about 3 years ago, and it was more friends and family. But then it had this opportunity of this week to get everyone involved because everyone was back and they all played cricket, various levels, and the youngest being 12, George. And we're all available, so we thought 1 week we'd do the whole team.
You booted the friends out for 1 week only?
Yeah, they were very good about it. They come and watched. They supported us.
How did the other team feel about having an umpire with related ties?
Well, the captain of the Thurlow is one of our friends. We do know him, so he was fine with it, and there was no controversial decisions at all.
I think it's a fantastic strategy.
No, yeah.
You could plant somebody.
That's the way
in a position of authority. It's a great idea.
Oh, look, here's the scorecard we can see on the screen with all of your names on there. Some fantastic English names on there. How does it get between the family members? Is it very, very competitive between you all?
As you get older, you work on that, don't you? And you keep that competitiveness out of it. And it's really for to play with your sons. It's a great thing to do.
Yeah, it's a lovely
We've
thing
all
to
got
do.
sons in it. That's why we do it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday,
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, whether it's maximising your annual leave, I don't know what that means, apart from just taking what you're owed, or having a long lunch break, we all need to switch off from work.
Yes, but are some Brits taking it too far? Are Brits, dare we say, lazy workers? Well, some people think so, after a rail union demanded 38 days of annual leave for its staff. It's an awful lot, isn't it? It's over a month. As well as talk from the government of bringing in a right to switch off law.
Right, well, let's talk to Charlie Mullins, founder of Pimlico Plumbers, and also director of the 4-Day Week campaign, Joe Ryle. Charlie, now you're a man who's been you're a man who's been incredibly successful from doing it all from scratch, and now running a big company, and you're in charge of an awful lot of people. Are we a lazy nation?
Cool, blimey. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Yes, we are. We've become so lazy since COVID. You know, they're bringing in this work from home nonsense, 4-day week, and, you know, the benefits that we're paying people. We're encouraging people to be lazy. And let me just point this out, not all the Brits are lazy. We have some great workers out there, but I feel now we have a majority of them are just lazy. I mean, why do you think we bring in all the foreign workers? Because our people don't want the jobs. They're not prepared to get out of bed. And we're just encouraging people to, you know, have a better work-life balance and not go to work, basically. But yes, we are a very, very lazy nation.
Joe, what do you make of it? Do you think Brits are lazy workers?
No, I couldn't disagree more. I'm afraid the statistics don't really back up what Charlie's saying. I mean, if you look at the statistics, we actually work some of the longest full-time hours compared to most countries in Europe. At the same time, we have one of the least productive economies. So all these long working hours we're putting in aren't really producing good results for the economy, aren't producing good results for workers. And I think there's a bit of a backlash to that after COVID. You know, people are saying it's time for change. We've worked this very rigid 9-to-5, 5-day working week for about 100 years now. And despite the fact the world of work has transformed, technology has transformed the workplace. And so people are saying, we can work differently, you know, we can work less hours and be more focused. And as we've found with companies that have been trialing the 4-day working week, they're actually finding that their workers are much more productive doing 4 days rather than 5 because they're better rested, they've got a better work-life balance. And I think that's going to be the way forward more and more.
It's part of the Oh, go on, Charlie, go on.
No, I've just got to stop you there. And I don't want to be rude. I don't want to make you look stupid because you're doing a good job of that yourself. But you are talking rubbish. We are the most less productive nation that's going beyond in the G7, right? And you talk about this work-life balance. Honestly, mate, you are talking rubbish. I'll ask you a question. I already know the answer. Have you ever run a business? No. Thank you.
I do.
Anyhow, moving on. It's people like you that are coming up with this work-life nonsense balance. We have become a lazy nation. We have some great workers, but we're encouraging people not to go work. When I hear people like you talking about 4-day a week, I think to myself, you are absolutely clueless. And I'm not being rude. I'm just saying what millions of people would tell you. If I had someone like you working for me, you would be out the door straight away because you are just encouraging lazy people. You've got it wrong. We need to get to work. We need to build the economy up, and we need to give youngsters a future. And what you're saying is totally incorrect.
But Charlie, do long hours actually equal productivity? Because the Labour Party is saying, well, actually, and it's also what we're talking about here with Joe, is if people are working 4 hours, but they're better, 4 days, but they're better rested, you actually get more out of them. Can you see that argument at all?
Look, you can dress figures up how you want. It's like telling an athlete, look, why don't you train only 3 days a week and you'll be better? Absolute nonsense. The more hours you do, the more productive you become, as long as you don't burn yourself out. I mean, there was a time when there weren't enough hours in the day. Now, for the lazy people, there's too many hours in the day. I mean, you can dress figures up how you want, but anybody that runs a successful business knows the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And I'm just afraid, you talk about Labour. Labour, I mean, let's be fair, you wouldn't put them in charge of a broom, would you? And I'm being polite, I have to be honest with you. I'm not being rude or nothing, but why would you take any notice of them? They've got the train. They've got the train drive.
I'm afraid the evidence just doesn't back that up, and I just do think your views are very stuck in the past here. The world of work is completely changing and transforming around us. And actually, there's hundreds and hundreds of companies all over the world that have found massive benefits to their profits, to their job retention, job recruitment by moving to a 4-day working week. And I think it's up to business leaders to embrace that change. Don't be scared of it, because
if I was to agree
otherwise you're going to be left behind.
If I was to agree with you, we'd both be wrong. I'm telling you now, you've got the wrong end of it. It's people like you that are just ruining the economy. I mean, what you read all this nonsense out of a book, you put all the figures together. Why don't you go and ask proper working people, right? You need to go to work. It's embarrassing not to go to work, and we're encouraging people not to go to work. You can dress your figures up all day. The difference between you and me is I've run a successful business for 41 years, and people that work for us went to work and was proud to go work and earned a good living by doing it.
Hold on, all right, hold on a minute, Charlie. Let me put something to Joe, because I wonder if part of the issue, Joe, here is that it's different types of work. I mean, look, if you work in an office, perhaps you will be more, you can be more productive, within that space of time. The problem is, if you're doing manual work, if you are one of Charlie's plumbers, well, actually, you've just got to knuckle down and get on with it. What we don't want to do is create a two-tier society, do we, where people who are manual labourers are having to work 5 days a week and people who are white-collar workers are working 4.
I mean, look, we've worked with all sorts of businesses, manufacturing sector, retail sector, hospitality. There's different ways of implementing a shorter working week, but there's lots of businesses that have found those efficiencies. I mean, we've also got to think, we've got artificial intelligence on the way, which is going to make the workplace much more productive than it was decades ago. And so for workers to benefit from that, we need to be reducing our working hours. Otherwise, all those benefits just go to bosses and more company profits. And I'm afraid workers are fed up and do want to work less hours. A 4-day week is vastly, vastly popular across the country. So I think Charlie's not on the side of public opinion here, I'm afraid.
Yeah, look, I don't come on the TV to please people. I come on the TV to say what I know and what's actually the facts. All this dressing it up and you want to make everyone... I ain't looking for friends. I just want... I'm just... Sorry?
You haven't got any facts. It's just opinions.
It's not.
I agree with you.
Ask anybody with common sense, like, if you work more, you're going to be more productive. We know you can burn yourself out, but realistically, people used to work 7 days a week. Then it's 6 days, 5 days. Now they want to do 4 days. I mean, it's just the wrong way of going about it. As I say, I'm not here to get friends. I'm here to prove to people like you that you're destroying the economy and you're giving youngsters no future whatsoever because you're encouraging them not to go to work. I mean, why don't you wake up and get in the real world?
All right, you two, fascinating to talk to you both. Joe Ryle, Charlie Mullins, thank you very much indeed. We'll have to all agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've got your views, though.
Yeah, loads of you getting in touch on this one. Charles says, I work to live, I don't live to work. Bill says, well said, Charlie. People today are lazy. They can't cook, they won't cook. I used to work long hours on my own bat to get job satisfaction and give my employer value for money. Yeah, loads of you getting in touch. Do keep them coming in. gbnews.com/you'll-say.
Still to come, we're going to tell you about the Alzheimer's miracle drug that's been approved for use in the UK. We'll tell you more shortly.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK for a Thursday morning. In Buckinghamshire, the northbound M1, the earlier broken down car has now gone junction 14 for Milton Keynes to junction 15 at Northampton. Coastbound M20 in Kent, one lane is closed at the minute due to a broken down vehicle. Junction 3 for the M26 to junction 4 at Leyburn. And also as well in Essex, the clockwise M25, one lane closed there due to emergency repairs following that earlier car fire just after junction 27 for the M11. In Hampshire, the westbound M27, one lane is closed due to a broken down vehicle, junction 10 at Wickham to junction 9 at Thurham. And in Surrey, the northbound M3 queuing with a lane closed due to an accident. That's junction 3 for Lightwater and Bagshot to junction 2 for the M25. And in Berkshire on the eastbound M4, one lane closed due to a broken down vehicle. That's at junction 5 for Langley this morning. That's going to affect you there, of course, too. You're up to date across the UK.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Paul's here with all the sport. Good morning.
Good morning. Should we talk a little Chelsea, a little bit of Raheem Sterling, who we think is being
badly treated.
He's treated. I think
He's all right.
Yes, I do.
300k a week. I think he's doing all right.
That's what I mean.
I think there are worse problems to have.
There are worse problems. I know he's earning a lot of money, but the thing is, I just think he's been disrespected a little bit. He probably looks though at Conor Gallagher, who was also disrespected by Chelsea, who was Chelsea through and through, was made to train with the under-21s. He's finally got his move to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
Shall we look at this? Is how they reveal Conor Gallagher. Look at that! Isn't that wonderful? He's what's
reminds me of when I first started working here.
Actually, you know what? It was very similar because I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember seeing that. I was the third motorcycle rider from the left that was driving around you at that time.
I mean, that's brilliant, isn't it?
It is.
Good on him, actually.
I honestly do. I felt sorry for him, and I think good for Conor Gallagher off there, and so he's managed to escape Chelsea, even though they didn't want him. So let's hope that Raheem Sterling and about 5 or 6 other ones are also going to have a similar situation.
Keely Hodgkinson?
Keely is not going to run again for the rest of the athletic season. Not that there's much time left. She only ran 8 races this year.
Only? She did a great job.
Yeah. So 8 16s, 8 8s, 16... Well, anyway, 800 metres. 64,000 metres she's run this year. Is that right? But she won a gold medal at the Olympics, of course.
Oh,
yeah,
she's great.
something like that.
Trying to work that out. Anyway, she said she's got a slight injury, so that's it. She wants to go for the world record, which Ludmila Kratochvilova still holds for 1983. Do you remember Ludmila?
Oh, yes, yeah.
It's going to take a lot of doing. And
Yeah,
when we're talking about certain substances that might have been used by some people, not that I would ever think that Miller had got involved in this.
Look, we all know, especially when we get to a certain age, being caught short.
Yes.
What do you do if you're mid-match?
Well, before we show this...
Oh, right, yes.
I'll give you a little background.
Oh, please.
You know I'm an expert when it comes to Peruvian football.
Oh, yes, yeah.
They play panpipes as they walk out.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing. Atletico Awajan and Cantoricillo. Peruvian third division match.
Native.
It is. It was a wonderful game. Sebastian Munoz was there, and he was there and thinking, as one does from time to time, you know, I need to... Well... Have a look at this.
Got to go.
There we are. That's me doing commentary, by the way. Right, so there's an injury there. There's a corner. Oh, there's Sebastian Munoz. Oh, my goodness, look. He's over having a wee in the corner. So what do you do? How do you punish such a thing? The referee's going to walk over and say, listen, you need to go into the change room if you're going to do that. You don't want to be doing that. And he's just about to take the corner. And red card.
Red card?
Sent off. It's a sending off offence.
It's got to say, there's not much of a crowd there to observe.
It looks like, thank goodness. Well, see, the thing is, if you'd gone into a crowded area, you would understand, not only probably have some sort of offence that was more than just an offence for football. Possibly. A proper offence. But anyway, and people would have taken offence. So anyway, he was given a red card.
They haven't even got a fence.
No, there's no fence.
They're building
one.
It's
fenceless. Yeah. Oh, it's defenceless. He could have just gone behind that sand dune there.
He should have done.
That's all he could have done is just gone behind the sand dune and he would have been fine, but no, sent off. And I think it's actually the first sending off I've known in world football for urinating during a football match.
Well, he's lucky he didn't get done for indecent exposure.
Well, that's the thing. There was no stand there.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Well, we don't...
Well,
maybe...
Next time, make your way to the changing rooms.
I think so.
I think it's a great story and it's a real shame. I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. Finally, England versus Sri Lanka, Old Trafford, second day, started very well. England tore them apart at first. They were 6 for 3, Sri Lanka. Then ended 80 for 5. Then they ended up all out for 236. A very good tale. Well, in more ways than one. But anyway, England going at 22 without loss this morning.
Fantastic. Paul, thank you very much indeed. See you tomorrow.
Now, GCSE results are officially out, and despite grades dropping, they haven't quite reached pre-pandemic levels.
Well, who better to soak up the atmosphere than our East Midlands reporter, Will Hollis, who's joined by some students. How have they got on, Will?
Good morning. Yes, it's a day for many that will be the biggest day of their lives this far, and we're expecting that those grades will be similar to what they were in 2019 when these two students, Connie and Freddie, were just little year 7s here at Heenagate Spencer Academy in Derbyshire. Connie, how are you feeling today, and what are you hoping to get from your results?
I'm feeling quite calm considering. I know I put all the effort in that I could. I'm hoping that I've achieved what I got in my mocks, which I was very happy with, so hopefully that's what we'll get.
Is there a particular class, subject that you're hoping to do really well in?
English Lit. I've been trying to get a 9 for the past few months, so I'm hoping that I've got it.
Fantastic. And Freddie, you're joining us as well. How are you feeling right now, and what are you hoping for in this brown envelope?
A tad bit nervous still, but I think I've put all the work in, so I should get what I'm hoping for. And I think maths is what I'm aiming for a 9 in, so if I can keep that, then I'll be happy.
Fantastic. You do have these brown envelopes. Let's get them up and let's get them opened. This is happening live here on GB News. Go for it, guys. Connie and Freddie are just opening their brown envelopes for people that are listening on radio. It's got their name printed on in a white label, and they're pulling it out right now. Let's just take a minute for them to have a little bit of a look and a little bit of a read. This is the biggest day for many students. There's about 200 or so coming here in the next half an hour at Heenagate Spencer Academy in Derbyshire. Connie, is anything sticking out to you that you can see that you'd like to share with us?
I've managed to pass statistics, which I'll be honest, I didn't revise for, so I'm quite happy with that one.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Freddie, is anything sticking out to you? Carry on looking, Connie.
I've managed to get my 9 in maths and then all 8s and 9s across the board.
A 9 in maths, is that the top grade? That's for older people, that's the equivalent of maybe an A, is that it?
Yeah, A star, yeah.
And how does that feel right now?
Very good, because it means I can do what I want after here, and I'll be set up nice.
There's so many different subjects on there. I can't imagine trying to fit that many things into my studies while also dealing with everything that a 16 and a 15-year-old might go through. Connie, is there anything else in there that you're happy sharing with us?
Yeah, I'm just happy that I've either got an 8 or a 7, so I couldn't really ask for any more, to be honest.
Yeah,
so.
Those are really fantastic grades.
So, yeah.
Freddie, what do you think you might do next? Where are you going to go?
Hopefully I'm going to Joseph Wright Centre in Derby to do maths, economics and physics, so it should be good.
And those subjects, where do they take you next in life? You're only 15 now, you turn 16 on Monday for your birthday. Where do you go after this in 2, 3, 4 years' time?
I'm hoping to get a degree apprenticeship using that economics A-level, which I think will set me up good for life.
Fantastic. Really brave for you opening this. Connie, what do you think you might do next?
I'll hopefully be attending sixth form here, and I'll be doing law, psychology, English literature and core maths.
Wow, all incredible subjects, and staying here at Heenagate Spencer Academy. Why do you want to stay here?
Honestly, I'm not sure what I want to do, so I thought I know my way around here, it's familiar, and I can figure out what I want to do over the next 2 years or so.
And I know there's a fantastic team here. Connie and Freddie, thank you so much for sharing your results with us. There is a fantastic team here, but there are 200 more students coming to get their GCSE results at Heenagate Spencer Academy this morning.
Lovely stuff. Will, thank you. Well done to those two. 7s, 8s and 9s across the board. That's really good.
Brilliant stuff.
Really good.
Will be a nerve-wracking wait, won't it, last night for those people, but they'll be opening their results now. We're joined now by GB News North West of England reporter Sophie Reaper. And how have they got along there, Sophie?
Well, a very good morning to you both. Lots of nervous faces coming through the door here at St Gregory's in Warrington. But once they've got those envelopes, lots of happy faces here. And we can join one of those pupils who's very, very happy with these results right now. And you should be very happy. This is Sam Belshaw, an absolute superstar. Sam, congratulations. Do you want to tell our viewers how well you've done?
Thanks. Yeah, I got 9s and 8s, which is... Yeah, very pleased.
Absolutely. Further maths, a 9. Let's just show that, if you don't mind. Look at that. A 9 in further maths. You must be some kind of genius, Sam. How do you feel? Were you nervous? Were you excited?
I mean, I was excited. You know, at the actual time of the exams, you know, it was a nice time. I liked it, but as it got further and further away and closer to now, I started getting a bit nervous. But relieved now. Relieved.
It's a long wait, isn't it, between doing those exams and actually you off to with results like that? What's the plan?
Cornwall College, doing physics, maths, further maths, geography, fun subjects.
And then you said earlier the plan after college?
Degree or degree apprenticeship. Not sure, see how it goes.
I was speaking to your head teacher earlier, and he told me that you had predicted results like this, but you have absolutely grafted your socks off. Did it feel like hard work at the time, or was it, you know, were you just incredibly motivated?
I think just the way I did it, it just became fun. It just like, what was the thing to do after school? Oh, do some maths. I just enjoyed it.
What an incredible response. A bit of fun doing some maths. I certainly don't remember maths being very fun, but clearly it's something you're very good at. Yeah. How do you think your family are going to take this? Now, I should say, Sam's poor mum is sat waiting in the car. She doesn't know what her son has got yet. We are keeping him from his mum. What do you think they're going to say? Think they'll be proud?
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully they will be. Yeah, they've seen how hard I work, so yeah, they should be.
Sam, thank you so much for joining us. So well deserved. I'm sure they'll be very proud. You go and tell your mum how well you've done. Amazing work. Thank you so much, Sam. And that is just one of the pupils here at St Gregory's. They've had an amazing year, the head teacher tells me. So throughout the morning, we're going to be speaking to some more pupils here, finding out exactly how well they've done with their GCSE results.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Sophie. And well done, Sam, as well. I love that. It's just very calm about the whole thing.
Good lad.
Yeah.
Good lad.
What did you do for fun after school? Did some
Maths. I was not very good
Couldn't
at
be me.
revising. See, I'm quite lazy. But someone said to me,
You always say that about yourself.
I am quite lazy.
I don't know why he says that about himself.
But someone wrote to me and said, just remember that a few months of hard work opens up a lifetime of opportunity.
Oh, that's good.
It's very good, isn't it?
Mm.
It's like a very senior member of the clergy now.
Oh, really?
David Monteith told me that, yeah.
That's a good one, actually. I'll keep that one up my sleeve.
Yes, yeah, it's a good one, though. I should have shared that with you when the revision was happening.
Yeah, it's a bit late now, but next year, if you're listening and you're in year 9, year 10, might come in handy. A few months hard work pays.
Yeah, it does.
Pays off, doesn't it?
Right, coming up, Labour apparently going to give councils the power to introduce 20-mile-an-hour limits if they want. We'll tell you more in the papers. That's next.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Soya, almond, oats, hazelnut, coconut milk.
Yeah.
It's now much more difficult to choose.
Yeah, there's an awful lot out there on the market. So how do you feel about horse milk? Yes, you heard that right. For generations, people in Central Asia have sworn by horse milk and the supposed health benefits. And now researchers in Poland believe it should even be used in ice cream. For the sweet treat not only tastes delicious, apparently, but could also be good for your gut.
OK, well, joining us now to give us the lowdown on why we should be considering switching over to horse milk is farmer Frank Shellard from Cromwell Farm, Britain's only horse dairy. Good morning, Frank. Look, you're an expert on all things milk. You've even written a book on it. Is horse milk good for you? How does it compare nutritionally, first of all, to cow's milk?
I think the big difference is, just to make the point from the very start, cows, sheep and goats and all those other alternative milks have got 4 stomachs. Horse has got a single stomach, so a lot of the enzymes and a lot of the makeup of the milk is very similar to mother's milk. So our bodies are a lot more able, us being a single stomach animal, if you like, to digest that milk. So that's the big thing. That's the first point I'd like to make. Because of the makeup of the mare's milk, you could drink the lactose and the lactase in it. You could probably, not all, don't quote with everybody, but a big percentage of those people that are lactose intolerant could drink the mare's milk. The great thing about the mare's milk is it's very, very good for your gut flora. If you remember in the history books, Cleopatra bathed in ass's milk, and ass's milk is exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same makeup as mare's milk, and she bathed in it for eternal youth and to keep the skin and her metabolism correct.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
All right, time to have a look through the papers at 8:44, and joining us once again this morning, Norman Baker, former Lib Dem minister and former advisor to Boris Johnson, no less.
Not me.
Job. No, not you, just to clarify.
Jump in there, Norman, and clarify.
Do you know what? That would be a great story, Norman, if it were true.
I did give him some advice, didn't take it, though.
No.
Oh, well.
All right, Norman, let's kick off with you. The Horizon scandal, I shouldn't smile, but there's been all this talk. There's not been enough money paid out to the victims of this, not by a long shot. But the Post Office, according to the Times, has paid its lawyers as much as it's paid out in compensation.
It just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? I mean, there were 900 people wrongly prosecuted. 900 people prosecuted. Some have committed suicide as a consequence of all this. The compensation has not been paid out quickly or properly. And now we find out, as you say, Stephen, that we've got this situation where £257 million has been paid out to lawyers, which is the same amount of money has been paid out to postmasters in terms of compensation.
Disgrace.
I'll tell you what, I've never seen a poor lawyer yet, and there's none in this story, is there?
No. Oscar, what do you make of it?
Yeah, it's horrific. I mean, I remember, and it was kind of sad in some ways that it took an ITV drama to kind of bring it out of the nation, but it elicited such strong feelings. And I'm surprised, actually, this story hasn't kind of kicked on a little bit and isn't in some ways a more prominent story. Like, I think people will find that absolutely abhorrent. But it is, unfortunately, it is kind of the reality of life. You know, lawyers, when they attach themselves to cases like this, pick up so much money.
But all this is going on. Why on earth are hands not being put in pockets at the post office, at Fujitsu, and actually shelling out serious money immediately?
And how many people have been sacked as a consequence of this?
Yeah.
None, as far as I know.
So many questions. And we were talking to a sub-postmaster the other day, weren't we? We interviewed him, and they're still using Horizon software in post offices around the country. I don't know how you trust it.
Oh, yeah, get your receipt from the post office. It still says Horizon on it. It's terrible.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Puts a chill through your system.
That's
when you
horrific.
see it. Oscar, Waitrose.
Yeah, they're planning to open up 100 little Waitrose convenience stores over the next 5 years. They had a couple of tough years, Waitrose, but this is them kind of how they would view kind of booming back into the market. And I'm quite a fan of the smaller supermarket, but the prices are higher, aren't they? But they absolutely prey on lazy people like me, who just can nip round the corner, can't cook, can't do a thing, and so can just go get their food very quickly around the corner and pay the price for it.
But do you think the way that we're shopping is changing? Do you think people are picking up what they need for that night's dinner rather than doing the big weekly food?
I mean, I don't want to expose anyone on the show today.
Please do.
But I would be intrigued to know how many people use delivery services for their food. Just quick-fire, Uber Eats or Deliveroo or, you know, any other companies out there.
Never.
I do it a lot, if I'm honest.
Do you?
I do it a lot. And they go to places like this little Waitrose.
Sorry, so you get Uber to do your shopping for you?
So they will go to a little Waitrose, one of these new stores potentially, and then you can just pick up a few things from the comfort of your own home, and they'll bring it to you in minutes.
You see, I think that's a disgrace. I mean, the young people of today, Norman, don't know they're born.
Don't me in that.
No, let's do it.
It's a disgrace.
I've always thought that if you order stuff online, then they'll give you all the stuff that's nearly out of date.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Convenience is king.
And what's better than getting your trolley and having a good ride up and down every aisle, and then you never know what you might see, and you can get the best bargains, compare and contrast.
Yeah,
This might surprise you, but I'm always in the supermarket. I'm always in the shops. And I love just walking up and down the aisle, taking it all in.
You can buy stuff you don't need because you see it.
Which I'm also an expert at. But no, good one.
I think the interesting last line from this Waitrose story, which I thought was fascinating, was that 15% of their Italian cheese is sold in one branch in Finchley Road.
Oh, well,
for some reason.
Oh, they're getting a dedicated Parmesan
is that what's happening?
section.
Yeah. I mean, I don't shop in Waitrose. It's too posh for me.
Well, exactly.
It's too posh for me.
Norman, I love this story. This is a postcard that arrived 121 years after it was sent.
Yes, it's rather delayed in the post.
Yeah,
and this is sent to a 16-year-old, actually in 1903, called Miss Lydia Davis, for someone called Ewart, who goes on to tell her in the postcard that he has about 10 shillings in pocket money, not counting the train fare, so he's doing all right. Unfortunately, Lydia's no longer around to receive the news. But the post office says that they're rather stuffily, they are obliged to deliver letters when they're in the post box, and even though she's no longer there, they have to deliver it to the address, which is on the postcard.
Oh, that's very... How can they be stuffy about it? They've delivered it 121 years later.
Well, indeed. It's now a building society in Craddock Street, apparently, in Swansea, where it's been delivered, and they're trying to track down the descendants of Lydia Davis to give her the postcard.
Oh, good.
That's nice.
Good.
Have we lost the art of letter writing? I feel like people just don't write postcards anymore or letters to each other.
I got
so lovely.
They are. I got a request. I was in Aberdeen on holiday last couple of weeks. I got a request from my friend in Cork to send me a postcard from Aberdeen, which I've duly got a postcard, but I don't know how much it costs to send to Ireland. I can't find a post office is open.
Well, that's it.
I can't remember the last time I wrote a letter or sent one, or no. No,
I
couldn't tell you.
don't think we will do it anymore.
No, well, not to the same extent.
We found the letters from my granddad to my granny the other day, and it was just gorgeous reading through them. And it's similar to that. It's talking about the train he was on and, you know, what they're doing at the weekend, what dance they're going to go to. But it's just so lovely to look back on and to have those memories in hard copy. We've lost it, haven't we?
We have.
I love the modern world, but sometimes it's not quite as lovely
you're the
to look
problem.
back on. I am the problem. I know I'm the problem.
You're into all the email and AI and all that.
Oscar, 20-mile-an-hour zones. I'm so confused by this. So Labour's now sort of saying, oh, yeah, if you want a 20-mile-an-hour zone, you can have one. It's up to the council. In Wales, where they were introduced, they then seem to scrap them all again.
They were hated.
Everyone hates
And now they're looking to roll them back. The First Minister in Wales has kind of recognised, I think it was 70% in terms of public polling in Wales, said we want rid of these. And in terms of the funding of this, I've seen a bit of briefing in the newspapers that there might be something in the budget announced on it. I mean, that to me, unless and potentially I am, not living on planet Earth, is an absolute vote-losing policy by the Labour Party. They are so unpopular, and rightly so. They push congestion onto the main roads. It's just a nightmare. So it'll be really interesting to see how this progresses. There is always that caveat, though, of, you know, with local consent.
Yeah,
and I can't imagine they'll be getting much of that.
I think it depends where they are. I mean, if you're outside a school, for example, or as a quiet residential street, then a 20 mile per hour limit may make some sense. Where it makes no sense, in my judgment, is, for example, Park Lane in London, which is a 3-lane carriageway with a 20 mile per hour limit on it, and it slows down buses. I think bus routes, for example, should always be 30 miles per hour. But I think what the government should do is give high-level general guidance to say that, and then let the council get on with it beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, a stretch outside a school, fine, no one's going to moan about that, are they? But it's when it's just slapped everywhere.
No, they're not going to be popular, are they? And where is the money coming from?
Well, this is it. And this is going to be
There's going to have to be more money outlined for this scheme, isn't there? And it's all going to come in the budget.
This is going to be a really fascinating budget, and I think there are going to be a lot of very, very, very disappointed people at the end of it.
But we're at the start of Labour's term here. They know they've got 5 years. They almost can be ambitious.
They'll do all the difficult stuff in the first budget.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yes, they can.
Right, we've just got time to have a look at the Casbah Club.
Yeah, lovely, the Casbah Club. This has come with me to the Casbah in Liverpool, because this is where the Beatles started, or 3 of them anyway, not Ringo Starr. And it's Pete Best's mum, he was the original drummer, set up this club and they played there, and it's now turned into holiday lets, where people, no doubt, from all over the world will come and live in the Paul McCartney suite or the John Lennon suite, but not the Ringo Starr suite, because he is not there. And the argument is that he wasn't part of the Beatles at the start, which he wasn't. However, Pete Best was, and it's his mum's old house, so perhaps there's a factor at play there.
He can do what he likes, frankly. I tell you what, this will be huge, though. This will pull in the money. Because Abbey Road is not that far. Drive past it every day. There are queues and queues of people walk across that zebra.
20 mile per hour limit there. 20 mile per hour limit in Abbey Road.
It is 20 mile an hour limit, yeah. But honestly, it's every single day.
Who's your favourite Beatle?
Paul McCartney.
I think Paul McCartney. I've met Paul McCartney. He's a really nice guy. I really like him. I like George Harrison's approach to life as well, though. But however, Pete Best, by the way, when he was dropped by the Beatles in '63, he was signed up by Decca, and he released an album called Best of the Beatles.
Oh.
Very smart.
Very smart. You couldn't even do him for infringement on that.
No.
Why? Who's your favourite Beatle?
I thought John Lennon was the coolest.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
But McCartney had the tunes.
Yeah, and he was at
There you go. We're out of time.
Thanks, you two. Let's have a quick weather.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update, brought to you from the Met Office. A pretty unsettled start to the day today. There's some warnings in force through this morning. Rain will spread south and east through the rest of the day, and a further batch of rain is expected tonight. But once the rain does clear parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, it will be still quite windy through much of the day, but it's a generally improving picture across northwestern areas. Still a few showers to come, though, and the cloud and rain will spread into the south and east, but much of the heavier rain will have moved away. So in any sunshine, temperatures still pretty disappointing for the time of year, in the high teens for most areas. But in any sheltered sunshine, we could just about reach 21 or 22 degrees. So fairly fine end to the evening for parts of eastern Scotland, eastern parts of northern England as well. That's where we'll see the best of the sunshine this evening. Temperatures around 17 degrees to end the day. Across the west, though, still some showers moving in where we're exposed to the breeze, temperatures in the lower teens. Clouds already building across Northern Ireland and parts of Wales by the end of this evening ahead of the next weather front due overnight. But for many areas of England and Wales, it should be a dry and fine evening away from the far southeast. As I said, it's going to turn more unsettled overnight tonight. An area of low pressure will sweep across the country, bringing a spell of very heavy rain and also some quite strong winds, particularly through Friday morning across northwestern areas. Gales are quite likely. So with lots of cloud and rain around, it's fairly tropical air. Temperatures are going to be milder than average by tomorrow morning. But as I said, it's going to be a wet start to the day, potentially some localised flooding issues. But that rain will sweep away quite quickly through Friday morning. Once it does clear, it will bring, there will be a much drier and finer picture for the rest of Friday. Still a few showers, particularly across north and eastern areas of Scotland, as well as parts of Northern Ireland. But in any sunshine, 22 or 23 degrees, but still quite breezy through the rest of Friday. Stay tuned and I'll see you later.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Hello, good morning. I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK for a Thursday morning. In Kent, the coastbound M20, that speed restriction in place due to Operation Brock. That's Junction 8 for Leeds Castle and the Maidstone services to Junction 9 at Ashford. Also in Kent on the coastbound M20, there's a lane closed due to a broken down vehicle now. Junction 3 for the M26 to Junction 4 at Leyburn. And also as well in Essex, the clockwise M25. One lane is closed due to emergency repairs following an earlier car fire. That's just after Junction 27 for the M11. In Hampshire, the westbound M27, all lanes are now open after the broken down vehicle from Junction 10 at Wickham to Junction 9 for Fareham, and also the northbound M3 in Surrey, queuing with a lane closed due to an accident. Junction 3 for Lightwater and Bagshot to Junction 2 for the M25, and in Cumbria, the northbound M6, one lane closed due to emergency barrier repairs at Junction 39 for Shap. That will affect you there. You're up to date.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
We could be calling you with the news that you've won our latest Great British giveaway, an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash.
Hi, I'm John from sunny North Yorkshire, and I've just won £20,000 in the GB News Great British giveaway. It didn't cost much to enter, but of course if you're not in, you can't win. And here I am, having won £20,000, and that's tax-free, so I'm rather pleased I did it.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. 5 bodies have now been recovered in the super yacht search.
The 5th body, located by Italian search teams, has been recovered this morning. 1 person still missing. Tech tycoon Mike Lynch and his 18-year-old daughter are reportedly among those bodies.
Well, the yacht's captain is being questioned by Italian authorities and the victims' families, of course, looking to unravel the mystery.
Over in the United States, Oprah dazzles delegates at the Democratic National Convention before Vice President hopeful Tim Walz wages war on Trump.
We got 76 days. That's nothing. There'll be time to sleep when you're dead. That's how we'll keep moving forward. That's how we'll turn the page on Donald Trump. That's how we'll build a country where workers come first. Healthcare and housing are human rights.
Is the EU creeping back into Britain as reports say the government wants to introduce freedom of movement for the under-30s?
GCSE students can now sigh a breath of relief as results have been officially released.
Ukraine carries out one of the biggest attacks on Moscow since the war began as troops move further into the Kursk region.
Good morning. Things are looking much better into the bank holiday weekend, but a pretty disappointing couple of days to come. Find out all the details with me a little later on.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
OK, let's start with the news then that in the last hour or so, another body has been recovered by divers searching the wreck of the super yacht that sank off the coast of Italy this week. That brings that number recovered to 5.
Well, families are on tenterhooks as the identities of the bodies recovered are yet to be confirmed, but reports emerging that it could include the billionaire tech tycoon Mike Lynch and his daughter.
Well, investigations into the exact circumstances of the disaster, of course, are still ongoing.
Well, GB News reporter Adam Cherry joins us live now from Sicily. And Adam, a tragic discovery this morning.
Yeah, that's right. We saw the body arrive at the shore, 3 or 4 emergency boats and workers bringing it onto the port, loaded into an ambulance. The ambulance is still on the port. They haven't moved it yet. So the body is still there with us on the port. Those ships have now returned to the wreckage and they are searching for that final missing person. So this is the 5th body that has been discovered today. We understand it was discovered last night, but they couldn't dislodge it from the vessel, and they have now done so, which is why they were able to go out and find it relatively quickly this morning, within half an hour or so of going out onto the waters. As you say, there is an investigation ongoing, including a British inspection. 4 British inspectors arriving yesterday. They're conducting preliminary research. Of course, the priority at the moment is getting all of those on board returned and identified. Once that's done, we'll have a discussion about why this happened, why this was the only boat to sink and sink so quickly. Family and friends are still here, just outside Porticello, staying in a hotel complex. The bodies will be taken to a mortuary where the other bodies discovered yesterday remain. They'll be identified and then their identities will be officially announced and confirmed to the public.
OK. Adam, thanks very much indeed.
And any developments on that story will, of course, bring them to you here on GB News.
Now, ministers are reportedly drawing up plans to allow young Europeans to live and work in Britain as part of a wider reset of relations with Brussels after Brexit.
Well, that's despite the Labour Party repeatedly insisting that it has no plans to agree a youth mobility scheme.
Well, let's talk to our political correspondent, Olivia Utley, who's in Westminster for us. So, if there are no plans to have a youth mobility scheme, what's this all about?
Well, there are no official plans to have an EU youth mobility scheme, and actually, over the election, Keir Starmer denied that he was in any such talks with the European Union. That said, behind the scenes, it sounds as though there might well be some movement on this issue. For quite a while now, the Prime Minister has been pushing for a few minor changes with Britain's relationship with the EU. For example, a veterinary agreement so that food coming over from the EU or or crossing from Britain to the EU would be subject to fewer checks, and various other sort of minor issues which are plaguing British businesses. But the EU has said repeatedly that if that were to be the case, it would like something in return. And something on the table now is this idea of an EU mobility scheme whereby young people between aged between 18 and 30 could move from the EU to the UK, or from the UK to one EU country for up to 4 years to work, volunteer or study. Now, it sounds as though, from this very interesting report in the Times, as though this is something that ministers are very seriously considering. The EU would also like to see the Erasmus scheme put back in place, where UK students and EU students can exchange places for a year to go and study, usually a language, abroad. The EU would like to see some other changes too. They'd like to push it even further, so there would be even more freedom of movement for young people crossing over from the EU to the UK. The talks with Ursula von der Leyen are beginning next week. It'll be really interesting to see where Keir Starmer and Ursula von der Leyen land on this, because some of these proposals will definitely be very tempting to Labour ministers, but of course they would leave the Labour Party open to accusations both from the Conservatives and from Reform that they are essentially just getting back into the EU by the back door, that by the end of the Prime Minister's term in office, we could be in a situation where Britain is in the EU in all but name.
Well, just looking ahead to the illegal migration stats and the legal migration stats coming out in about 25 minutes' time. Labour are going to be looking at these very, very closely, aren't they? These stats are imminent, and they're going to apply pressure, aren't they, to the government?
Well, they definitely are. It sounds as though the stats which are going to be released very soon will reflect that there have been a lot of small boat movements in the past few months. The Labour government will use this as ammunition to say that they have been given this appalling inheritance from the Conservative Party, and they will really try and hammer home that message to voters. Look at the situation that the previous government landed us in. That's all very well, but the spotlight now is on the current government and what they are going to do about both the small boat arrivals and the legal migration arrivals, which, of course, some people say is a much bigger issue. Last year, there were almost 700,000 legal migrants to the UK. Now, Keir Starmer has shown his dissatisfaction with some of the measures that the previous government brought in to address both legal and illegal migration. So a curb on students bringing over their dependents for legal migration, and of course the Rwanda bill for illegal migration. Keir Starmer doesn't like any of that, but he hasn't really explained in detail what his alternative is. And you'll notice that when the question of particularly illegal migration is raised, Keir Starmer would rather close the conversation down. He likes to say that he would like that the plan is to crush the gangs at source, to tackle the problem upstream. Of course, that is something which has been tried by subsequent governments, and it is easier said than done. So the spotlight is very much going to be on the Labour government and how they are going to address this, although they will certainly use these statistics to hammer home that message that they've been given a really rough inheritance from the previous government.
Yeah, certainly will. Olivia Utley, thank you very much indeed. Well, ahead of those migration figures at 9:30, let's cross over now live to GB News South East England reporter Ray Addison, who's in Clacton-on-Sea for us this morning. And Ray, how are the locals feeling there about not only the numbers of small boat arrivals, but also legal migration numbers?
Well, we've come down this morning to talk to locals, to talk to local politicians and to business people too. In fact, I'm joined now by Deepak Patel. He's the CEO of Dees. It's a big employer in the area. Deepak, thanks for joining us. Let me just get your reaction, your thoughts ahead of these figures coming out. What are you hoping to hear today?
Well, I'm hoping that the net immigration has dropped. Last year, 685,000. With the correct visa routes and sponsorship routes that the government have now put in place, we should have dropped, and we should see less immigration coming through into this country, which doesn't help our businesses.
Yes, because you're an employer in the hospitality and the care sectors. You employ quite a large number of people who come over to the UK as immigrants. How would it impact you? How do these numbers impact you as an employer?
We're going to find it tough in certain areas of our businesses, especially hospitality, because of the stricter visa rules coming over. So we're going to struggle in staffing within chefs or within waiting staff, where we're struggling in certain areas around the country. The care side we're really struggling in at the moment, and you know, it's really going to impact that industry. The care industry is growing in quite a big amounts over the last few years due to the amount of care needed for the elderly population and also people with complex care.
Labour's been quite keen to stress that they are cracking down on illegal immigration. We were speaking off camera and you said that, you know, you would personally like people who come to the UK illegally and then go on to claim asylum to be able to work while they're under that process.
Well, it's costing the government too much money, putting them in hotels and trying to look after these asylum seekers. If they can work as soon as they get here, I'm sure that will relieve the pressure on the government and the funds the government have to spend on them.
What do you have to do as an employer at the moment? Because part of the Labour crackdown will be on employers who employ people who do not have a right to work in the United Kingdom. What do you do and what can you do as an employer to make sure that you don't fall into that trap?
Make sure all your right to work details are in place. Make sure if you're sponsoring people, you're following the Home Office rules, which is what we adhere to. The Home Office are very open and they totally understand that the care side of the businesses are struggling in the country. So as long as you follow the processes, there should be no problems.
Deepak Patel, CEO of Dees, thank you very much for joining us. Those figures coming out just around 9:30 this morning, and we'll be speaking to people here in Clacton throughout the day.
Oh, Ray, get inside, have a cup of tea. Thank you very much for bringing that to us.
Let's just bring you some breaking news on that whole super yacht business, because we've been telling you that a fifth body, there were the 5 bodies discovered yesterday, only 4 brought ashore. They've managed to get the 5th body today, and it's been confirmed that it is Mike Lynch, the British billionaire who was the owner of that yacht. We had his close mate on GB News a couple of nights ago saying, well, if anyone could survive this, it would be Mike Lynch. Well, sadly, that is not the case. There is still one person missing, and we understand that is believed to be his daughter.
Yes.
Whose body is yet to be found.
Yes, 18-year-old daughter Hannah is still missing. The bodies of the other 4 people who vanished when the boat went down were recovered from the yacht on Wednesday. But yes, that development this morning, that the body of the British tech tycoon Mike Lynch has been retrieved this morning from the wreck of that super yacht.
Keep you fully up to date with any more developments on that, of course, at the course of the day here on GB News. Just time to tell you about the giveaway. There's only a couple of weeks left in that, so if you would like to enter and potentially get your hands on £30,000, here's how you do it.
We could be calling you with the news that you've won our latest Great British giveaway, an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash.
Hi, I'm John from sunny North Yorkshire, and I've just won £20,000 in the GB News Great British Giveaway. It didn't cost much to enter, but of course, if you're not in, you can't win. And here I am, having won £20,000, and that's tax-free, so I'm rather pleased I did it.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. Do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to find out how GCSE students up and down the country are celebrating today's results. That's next.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This
is GB News, Britain's news channel.
EasyJet is launching a new recruitment drive focused on attracting cabin crew members over 50 and those even considering retirement.
Well, the initiative is called Returnships and is inspired by research that suggests that 75% of people over 50 years old believe that now is the ideal time to embark on a new career.
Joining us now to discuss what it takes to embark on a second career as cabin crew is Helen Williams. Good morning, Helen.
Hi, good morning, Helen.
Welcome. Just touching down in our studio.
It is. I've had a few days off and now I'm here.
So you are now cabin crew.
I am.
What inspired you to get into it? What did you do before? How did it all come around?
Oh, so when I graduated, I took an office job with my grad scheme, and that job lasted 6 months, and I started working for a European carrier. I did just over 5 years at that European carrier and had an absolutely fabulous time. I then went on to a wet lease operation with an Irish carrier and another mainline UK carrier. I then decided to have time out. I had a business, I had a family, I had children, and last autumn I decided, why not? Let's go back and do it all again. So returning to that European carrier that I'd worked at when I was in my early 20s.
And what is that like for you now, returning that bit older, having that life experience, having your children? Do you think that's been a benefit to you?
It's absolutely been a benefit. I mean, the amount of parents that thank me for helping me with their small children when they're crying on a flight. I am that person now.
When you went back for a second time,
Yeah.
did you notice more sort of older people amongst your sort of colleagues?
I did. So when I returned onto my initial course in March of this year, just over half the course were over the age of 30.
Wow.
Which was absolutely phenomenal. And I was expecting to return and be with a lot of younger, 18, 19, 24. I was expecting to be that dinosaur. And that first day of training, to find out that I wasn't the dinosaur, you have no idea how exciting that was. And they've gone on, that particular group, to be phenomenal crew members.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, it's been a very nerve-wracking morning for lots of teenagers because the GCSE results are now officially out. Despite grades dropping, they haven't quite reached pre-pandemic levels.
No. Doing all right, doing very well, in fact. Let's talk to our North West of England reporter, Sophie Reaper. Morning, Sophie. Who have you got with you?
Good morning to you both once again. We're still here at the fabulous St Gregory's High School, who've done very, very well despite the pandemic. They're getting those levels right back up there. And one of the pupils who's helped to do that is joining us now, the wonderful Harry Harris. Award for the best name ever, by the way. Harry Harris, I love that.
Thanks.
Harry, do you want to tell our viewers how well you've done?
Yeah, pretty happy with that. All sixes, but...
Let's talk about that English language, though, because
Yeah.
I know that's what you're most happy about, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
a 7 in English language. How proud are you of that?
I'm really happy. I've tried hard, yeah.
And talk to me about the revision process. Do you feel like you were really stressed, or were you quite relaxed?
I was never really stressed. I was aware of it, like I needed to do well, and I needed to try hard, but I was never really stressed about it.
And what about the nerves in the build-up to today? I know you said earlier, didn't you, that you were more nervous about the results than actually taking the exams.
Yeah.
What was that build-up like?
It was nerve-wracking in the car. It was tough. It was nervous. I was nervous.
And talk to us about your plans now. You've done so well. What's next for you? I know you've got big plans, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, thanks to I've got 5/5, so I can go to Carmel College and I can do law, politics and business, which is what I wanted to do. So
Talk to me about the next. I know it's crazy to me that you've already thought about the next step, but talk to me about the next step after college.
yeah, well, I haven't really thought about it too much, but maybe university. I think probably my favourite out of all those subjects is business, so maybe business or maybe law, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
The world is your oyster now. You've done so well, Harry. I know you're with your mum this morning and she's very proud of you. I can see her, she's getting a little bit emotional. She's so proud of you, and as you should be, you've done so well. Thank you so much for joining us, Harry. Congratulations once again. Just one of the pupils, once again, who've done so well here at St Gregory's. We'll be here for the rest of the morning speaking to even more pupils who've done just as well as Harry.
Very much, Sophie, there for us in Warrington. Let's cross now to GB News East Midlands reporter Will Hollis, who's also joined by some students this morning. Morning, Will.
Good morning. We're at Heenagate Spencer Academy in Derbyshire, in probably the noisiest room in the school right now, with students who are just about to open their GCSE results. All of their friends around us are excitedly opening theirs already, and you can hear that's why it's so noisy. But Sophie and Tom have kindly waited. Sophie, Tom, what is it you're hoping to get in these results today?
I mean, ideally all 9s, but I've worked really hard and I just want everything that I've hoped for.
Yeah, a lot of work. This is now, you've been here for 5 years and that's your future in your hands. Tom, what is it you're hoping for today?
I'm hoping for a grade 8 in my maths and science, because, well, it's what I've studied for, mostly.
Fantastic. Well, I'm not going to stop you any longer. Please do open up your results. This is the end of 5 years of study for their GCSE results. These students are 15 and 16 years old, and right now they're seeing about 6 or 7 different grades for the subjects. I'm going to give them a minute just to absorb those results. And then, Sophie, what is it that you're looking at?
I got a grade 9 in English literature, which I was really hoping for.
Fantastic. What's appearing to you, Tom?
A grade 8 in maths, a grade 8 in chemistry, and a grade 9 in physics.
Fantastic. Those are really good grades. Where are you going to go next after finishing here this GCSEs?
I'm going to go to my local sixth form in Heenagate, and then hopefully do something to do with aeronautical engineering or Rolls-Royce or something.
Fantastic. Sophie, what might you do next?
I'm also coming to this sixth form. It's like a really outstanding school, and I've been supported all 5 years that I've been here, and I'm hoping to do forensic science.
Fantastic. Big futures and big results. Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing them with us this morning on GB News. There are so many students around us, and it feels like their futures are happening right now.
Oh, it's such an exciting time. Well done to those two, and thank you, Will, for bringing that to us. They're very brave students. I would not be opening my results in front of anyone.
No.
I'd be in the car alone.
I wouldn't do that on television. I think that's
very brave.
Slightly crackers.
I think Sophie might have just regretted it as well. I can't lie. She told us she was going to get all 9s and she got 1 9 in English lit.
It was bad enough opening in front of your mum and dad, and it's like, well.
Yeah.
Yes, all right.
Well, no, they've all done. I tell you what, I was Harry Harris with his 6s, which is that for you and me, it's Bs. So we got mainly Bs, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's this stupid drive at the minute. Everyone's got to get the absolute very, very top mark. It's not life, is it?
No.
That's how it works.
It isn't.
I got 1 A, 7 Bs and a C.
But you can remember, Bev can remember. I know I'm slightly older than you. I have no idea what I got in my O-levels. Absolutely not a Scooby.
I got 5 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's and a D in statistics. But I forgot that I was sitting statistics, and I was back at home and I got a call from the school saying, where are you? So I hot-footed it in.
But the fact that she remembers the statistics about her O-levels means she would have passed with an A plus whatever they were then.
Maybe.
No idea.
There you go. What have you got in your show today?
More of that.
More of that. But we're also asking, is it outdated system? Should it be scrapped? Is it actually doing pupils a disservice?
What should we do? A baccalaureate instead?
Various suggestions.
Can we go back to letters of grading? That would be good, I think.
Well, at least I understand.
A, B, C, D, E.
There's nothing wrong with that. No, if it ain't broke.
No, it's just crazy.
It's E for effort.
Yeah, we're going to have the latest immigration statistics, of course, legal and illegal migration. We're going to be looking at those. They're going to be breaking in our time this morning. What did the government do about it?
We're also talking about the new Alzheimer drug, which means lots of hope for people, hopefully, who are suffering, and in particularly early onset. And we're also having some fun with sex.
Oh. OK.
News to me. I was going to mention the LTNs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Low traffic neighbourhoods, which we do know about.
Sex is sexier, sorry.
And also, it's all gone a bit loose women.
Is this a cougar story?
There is a debate about age gap relationships, yes.
Because some of us might be.
That's not the reason we're talking about it.
Oh, that's true.
That's not the reason we're talking.
Cougar out of the bag.
Oh, very good.
Oh, sorry.
And should there be more working class people on the telly? I think so.
OK.
But what does that even mean?
Well, you've got me.
Exactly.
And me.
And you.
Yeah.
And me. Only Ellie's posh.
No, Ellie's not posh.
I'm from Essex.
She's from Essex.
No one posh is from
Put your real voice on.
You're right, babes.
What she sounds like when she's not on telly. See you later. Here's the weather.
See you tomorrow.
Taylor Swift fan.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A pretty unsettled start to the day today. There's some warnings in force through this morning. Rain will spread south and east through the rest of the day. And a further batch of rain is expected tonight. But once the rain does clear parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, it will be still quite windy through much of the day, but it's a generally improving picture across northwestern areas. Still a few showers to come, though. And the cloud and rain will spread into the south and east, but much of the heavier rain will have moved away. So in any sunshine, temperatures still pretty disappointing for the time of year, in the high teens for most areas. But in any sheltered sunshine, we could just about reach 21 or 22 degrees. So fairly fine end to the evening for parts of eastern Scotland, eastern parts of northern England as well. That's where we'll see the best of the sunshine this evening. Temperatures around 17 degrees to end the day. Across the west, though, still some showers moving in where we're exposed to the breeze, temperatures in the lower teens. Clouds already building across Northern Ireland and parts of Wales by the end of this evening ahead of the next weather front due overnight. But for many areas